Welcome back to the FPL reaction stream, this time out of Game Week 9. We're still in the middle of Game Week 8, of course, and we have plenty of matches to look forward to. Two massive games tomorrow between Tottenham Hotspur and Aston Villa, Liverpool against Man United, and on Monday night it will be West Ham against Brentford. But the vast majority of the matches of Game Week 8 have been completed, and I'll be talking about the things that have gone well for me this week. And normally when it comes to 50-50 calls or benching dilemmas, I kind of have the sensation anyway that I picked the wrong one, but it hasn't been the case this time round. Despite Robert Sanchez keeping a clean sheet, he was booked towards the end of the game in that 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest, and I picked Dubravka, who's going to get a bonus point, and he also got enough saves to get 7 overall. And actually, he's getting 2 bonus points. That changed towards the end of the match, so I'm very happy with Martin Dubravka. And the other 50-50 call, so to speak, was in Die against Rangers. Not a massive game, but I'll certainly take the extra 3 points. Concert is yet to play tomorrow. He's on my bench, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But my remaining players in the starting 11 are Pedro Porro, Bruno Fernandes, and Cody Gakpo. No one on the Wednesday. I think Jeroboam could be a brilliant option, and it goes without saying that Mohamed Salah is in pole position to either match Erling Haaland or be the closest to him this week. Let me go into your questions and comments as always. Drop a like if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to the channel. I went live earlier. Almost 3 hours that deadline stream was, despite the fact that my voice was absolutely screwed over. But with enough rest and also watching all the matches, I am getting back in shape just in time for UCL Fantasy, because there is a lot more to talk about with Matchday 3. The best wildcard and limitless squads will be recorded across Sunday and Monday. The same goes for the team selection and a deadline stream on Tuesday. Easy says Mateta and Haaland partnership. However, before today, Mateta was vastly underperforming and he still missed multiple big chances today. And that one at the end to seal the deal, I don't know how he missed it. But Erling Haaland, of course, he's an absolute robot. Just when you think he's had 0 shots, 1 touch, and 0 XG, he then scores 2 goals in a matter of 10 minutes, just like Jean-Philippe Mateta. And ultimately, I've highlighted 6 forwards in recent weeks. Gyökeres is the only one who hasn't really delivered. To be fair, 2 of them haven't. Joao Pedro is the other one. But Bowen, Voltemada, Mateta now, at least this week, and Erling Haaland are looking very solid. I'm still bullish on Gyökeres, but I do understand those that are frustrated with him. And I'll be quite honest with you, the Arsenal player I'm looking to buy is Saka. I'm really perplexed at how he walked away with no goal contributions today. He played very well. So if you bought Saka in after the West Ham game, don't feel disheartened because it's a great transfer. Good pick. Didn't work out today in terms of the points. It was Trossard who scored the winner. But Saka is definitely on radar for me. Either in Gameweek 9 or 10, I will buy the Arsenal talisman. Ange sacking is the shortest ever managerial in Premier League history. I did see one stat that had, I think, Sam Allardyce at 30 days. And if you kind of look beyond the Premier League, there are obviously even shorter sackings. But you might be right. I've seen a few kind of conflicting reports about that, but it's definitely up there. Only 39 days in charge, and we had an international break in the middle of it, which kind of inflated those numbers. Mukiele legend, Saka 7 points and got Bowen to play. Can be said wildcard success. That is true with Bukayo Saka, to be fair. He was already on course for defensive contributions in the first half, so it's still a solid return, actually. So I think those with Bukayo Saka will be quite happy with that, despite the fact that he obviously got no goal contributions, but he's not going to get DEFCON very often. He's not like Ndai, who is a wing, obviously, by trade, who's going to get DEFCON quite consistently. We've seen that, of course, against Man City today and on 2 other occasions, but yeah, that is true. I actually forgot to mention the DEFCON. He's going to get some bonus points, and I'll be talking about bonus very soon. Only sad thing, I started Pope over Dubravka. Yeah, I was asked this question a lot in the deadline stream earlier, and despite the fact that Newcastle have the better defence, and I do like Nick Pope on the wild card, I did say today, I was very firm on it, I would go for Dubravka this week, and luckily he made some big saves, and Burnley kept a clean sheet against Leeds United. But happy with the City win, and we're now up to second. Haaland, a beast. Yeah, I think Man City will challenge for the league for 2 reasons. Pep Guardiola and Erling Haaland. It's as simple as that. They've got some good players across the board, but yeah, it's really those 2 that are kind of pushing City into this title contention. Sean Dyche and Roberto Mancini, top contenders for the Nottingham Forest job. Yeah, I saw the Roberto Mancini links by David Ornstein. Sean Dyche has been linked for quite some time now, but yeah, I think Sean Dyche would probably be the better appointment out of the 2, but Forest just have no clue at the moment. They're going from one extreme to the other. You can't go from Nuno to Ange Postecoglou and then go back to Sean Dyche. It just doesn't really make much sense to me. Cylindra says, hoping Liverpool have an off day. Hope you're doing well with your FPL team, Dylan. And also must be happy with the Arsenal win. Now 3 points clear at the top. It's still very early. Of course, a win's a win. I actually predicted a 1-0 victory, so I got that correct. The only one so far in terms of scoreline predictions. I'll show you them very soon. But yeah, Liverpool, I think, will win against Man United. I've kind of got the mentality that they'll win the next 3 matches, so Arsenal just need to match that and then build some momentum, try to win the next 5 games out of the next 6, for example, stay unbeaten in that time frame, of course, and then, yeah, just kind of build a gap at the top, because Liverpool and Man City will be in contention. I think Chelsea, the likes of maybe Newcastle, will be competing for 5th and 4th spots. But yeah, I think there's a clear gap between the top 3 and the rest of the division. Yeah, Evanescence injury looks like a calf problem. Krupi Jr., of course, scoring a brace today in his absence. Very impressive from him. Semenyo got booked, only got an assist, but yeah, I think he's got a lot of credit in the bank this season. If it was last year, I'd have a different opinion, and I'd probably be cussing him. Eli says, 93 all out with bench boost and Van de Ven and Bowen to play. Okay, so yeah, your bench boost is all out, but you've still got some players left. I think Bowen could be enough to get you to 100. I really feel that way. I think Van der Ven will probably blank, but of course, Defcon is a possibility. Mukiele the GOAT. Yeah, he got a big return today in Alderete sort of fashion. I think in most scenarios today, when I was asked about Mukiele, I talked about starting him, but of course, there would have been other things I would have gotten wrong, so to speak, but it is what it is. You can't get everything right, unfortunately. Hi, Dylan, DCL, Dubravka, Rodon, Anderson. Should I go for bench boost next week? Yeah, still looks quite decent with those fixtures for Burnley and Leeds, so it's better to get out of the way. I wish I had a stacked enough squad because I've got Reinildo, who's now back from suspension, but he's facing Chelsea away. There's no guarantee he gets back into the 11. I think he will, but that'll be talked about closer to the next deadline. Then I look at the other players. Rangers against Aston Villa away. I'm not particularly fond of that. Dubravka's fine. And I've got Konsa facing Man City at home. Lacroix against Arsenal away. So there are a few problems in my squad, but looking at your bench on paper, it does look pretty promising. I'd probably play the chip. Mukiele, very dangerous, especially long throw-ins. Yeah, long throw-ins are becoming a big thing this season. We've been kind of seeing that for a while now. And yeah, dangerous future set pieces. And the goal Mukiele scored is something you wouldn't expect. He played at left-back today, something a little bit different for him. But with Reinildo back, we could see him shifted back into central defence, but he's a Defcon machine, which I like a lot about him. Yeah, Munoz on the bench, he got 2 assists today, both for Mateta, of course, who scored a hat-trick. Yeah, football's completely unpredictable at times, but Munoz always has that high ceiling, which is why I've still talked about him, or at least referenced him in wildcard videos and across my content, because he is going under the radar. Thank you, Safir. As he says, big up to the chat, and I appreciate your kind words. Enjoy the weekend, people. Yes. Just for those that aren't aware, the account called Man City Are Finished is a Liverpool fan, so that's why he's a bit frustrated with Fulham. Yeah, they were quite poor today. I mean, they started relatively well, and they caused Arsenal problems, and I think the Gunners really struggled to settle in. They made some really sloppy mistakes, and in possession, they just carelessly gave the ball away multiple times. There was no connections, so I think Fulham had an opportunity to add to their recent impressive record against Arsenal at home, but yeah, ultimately, I predicted 1-0. It's the only scoreline prediction I've gotten right, so I'm going to, enjoy that a little bit, but I always expected a kind of tough game, very cagey. Arsenal should have won by more. Gyökeres, very disappointing today. He had a few good moments, but the finishing was completely woeful. I think Saka was a star. He deserved the bonus points for sure. And Gabriel's going to get 12 points, so I'm very happy with that. Tafir says, bringing in Voltemada, small W. Yes, he's actually going to get 2 bonus points today. Only pipped by Danny Welbeck, who scored a brace to give Brighton the 3 points, but Nick Voltemada, I bought him in Gameweek 7. He got me 6 points. I sold Chris Wood, gained a bit of team value, and now he's got me 8 points. No complaints from me, that's for sure. Yeah, Reinders the fraud, and that's not me saying it. That's obviously the highlighted comment. Reinders to Caicedo. I've been talking about this for a while now. Despite the Ecuadorian being benched today, yeah, I think Caicedo is still the better asset long term. Reinders will be inconsistent. He might return now in these more difficult games, but to kind of predict when he's going to do it is very difficult to do. So I think Reinders is more of a sell, which I talked about in Game Week 7 for the transfer tips. Gyökeres, another fraud. I mean, so far in his Arsenal career, he had a decent start, scoring 3 goals in the first 4 matches, but yeah, after that, he has been very quiet. He hasn't scored in the last 9 matches for club and country. It's probably his worst goal-scoring run in many years. And whilst there have been some good moments, he's definitely contributing towards Arsenal's wins. I still want more from him. So, yeah, with Victor Gyökeres, I wouldn't say he's a fraud, but he needs to step up big time. There's no doubt about that. Tom Mills says, I was on wildcard and had a last-minute decision between going Bowen and Mateta. Well, Bowen, I still think is the better choice in terms of the fixtures, but yeah, when you see Mateta score a hat-trick, you kind of just think, what can I do? So I don't really blame you for feeling disheartened. I would probably feel the same way, and FPL can do that sometimes. A massive swing when, you pick the more reliable finisher in Bowen, who has better fixtures, and Mateta's underperformed so much, but people always point towards XG and say over time it will catch up, but there's no guarantee that Mateta will score a hat-trick, let alone against Bournemouth in this sort of game. So yeah, I think that's a very tough one. Not a bad decision, just a horrible outcome. 85 points of Fernandes remaining, bench boost of Mukiele. Yeah, looking very solid. A lot of high scores flying around. Daniel says 74 points bench boosted this week, with Gakpo, Wirtz and Kudus left to play on the bench. Yeah, I think one of them should get a return, so you're looking at 80 plus points. 90 is possible, to be fair, so I don't blame you for hoping for that. All the best, even though I'd want United to get something, but yeah, I wouldn't mind a Gakpo return if Liverpool were to get the victory. Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh as well. I mean, look, I'm an Arsenal fan. I wanted Gyökeres in the summer. I'm still going to back him, and I think he will score in the coming weeks. But yeah, I also felt he would score against Fulham. He didn't. He didn't have too many big opportunities, but he still should have done better. His finishing was terrible today. I did Tarkowski and Bruno to Botman and Saka, which looks like a waste of 2 transfers now. I disagree. Not really. Saka got 5 points today. He didn't score or assist, but he got DEFCON, the clean sheet point, and it looks like he'll get 2 bonus points, which I'll talk about very soon. And also, Saka played brilliantly today. If he continues playing like that, he's going to get a lot of goals and assists this season. Yeah, a lot of people are hating on Gyökeres. Look, I'm just going to defend him. So I'm not his lawyer. I'm not paid by him, but I'll try my best to defend him. Let's not forget he won the Gerd Müller Award at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. Not that anyone cares. He won FPL points, but he's not a fraud. He's just having a poor run for Sweden and Arsenal, and he needs to step up because the Gunners need him to win the title. So yeah, he needs to do more. Carl says on 73 points with Bruno left, only if I played Munoz, I would be above 80. But who did you start over Munoz? I mean, I'm not sure who that was, but yeah. I don't think anybody going into this game week would have expected Munoz to get 2 assists and 9 points and for Mateta to get a hat-trick against Bournemouth. These things happen. How do you guys have so many points? Well, a lot of wildcards and bench boosts are flying around. I think that also plays a big part. A lot of DEFCON also with Saka, Senesi, even though he didn't get many points in the end. Indai, that would also help. Rasmus says 105 points, which is the highest I've seen so far. I'm at 67 all out. Yeah, decent score, but yeah, there's some people with like 40, 50 points who might have 4 or 5 players left, so you just have to be careful about that. I think Salah, he's the one I'm looking at tomorrow. I think he's going to do really well. And Bowen, those are the 2 players that I'm not scared of not owning, but I wish I had them for Gameweek 8, and I said that from the beginning of the deadline stream today. Manu says 85 points for Fernandes with also 5 free transfers. What a time to be alive, bringing on Enzo next game week. Yeah, nice. I told people, or at least most people, to kind of hold off in terms of buying Enzo because of the yellow flag. I thought he would start in the early kickoff, but I still thought it was a bit risky. And yeah, Fernandes is still, I don't think he's a must sell, especially against Brighton at home next week. He has a good record against the Seagulls. Decent amount of points for sure for you. 85 is very solid, and you got 5 free transfers, which is even better. Safar says 72 points, Bruno left to play. Pretty decent. And I think Bruno could get something tomorrow. I hope he does. And I believe Bowen will return Sudindra. Yep, I think he's going to do well. I don't think so, Man City are finished. I think that's maybe you hoping for the best there. But with Arsenal facing Sunderland, Burnley, Crystal Palace, you know, Tottenham as well, Arsenal would do terribly to get only 1 win of the next 5. They need to get 4 and probably draw the other one. And honestly, even getting 5 out of 5 is what they should be aiming for. So yeah, I'd be very surprised by that. Haaland is definitely a robot, another goal and goal again. Yeah, he's scoring, you know, goals in quick-fire succession on multiple occasions now. We saw against Burnley a few weeks ago. Thankfully, he did that because I triple captained him back in Game Week 6. And yeah, it's kind of getting boring though. I mean, I'm getting points for it. I'm captaining him, doing it kind of sensible and logically. But look, I don't want Salah to return tomorrow, I'll be honest. But long term, I would like to see more premium step up. So Saka, Palmer when he's back, Mohamed Salah. So we've got more choice and we don't all just go for Haaland and captain him. It's a bit boring that way. Then again to Game says, I did Cunha to Sarr and Gameweek 8 as you suggested. Yeah, look, Sarr does face Arsenal away next, but he is fixture proof. I still think it's a great long-term transfer. He had a big opportunity today. He should have done better. When I buy Saka, I have 0.0 in the bank. Should I buy Saka tonight or wait? Yeah, so good question at the end. How do FPL price change predictions work with the percentages? So I use the website livefpl.net, which I'll refer to in a couple of minutes, and I'll put a link in the live chat. But essentially, it's based on transfer activity, and sometimes FPL, the headquarters, whoever is involved in that, do have a sort of influence because you see someone get sold by so many people, and yet they still stay at the same price. And conversely, they might be bought by a lot of bought in by a lot of FPL managers, and yet they don't go up in price. So yeah, it's mainly based on transfer activity, but it's not always an exact science, let's put it that way. Let's go through the bonus points and start off with the early kickoff between Nottingham Forest and Chelsea, which resulted in Ange Postecoglou being sacked. The quickest sacking after a match is finished, and also in Premier League history, as Easy said, after 39 games. So the bonus points have been allocated to Reece James, who's on the thumbnail, Achimpong, who scored his first Premier League goal, and Pedro Neto, who got a goal and assist. With Defcon, Cucurella did secure it for Chelsea. Elliot Anderson picked up Defcon for Nottingham Forest as a midfielder, and that's about it from that game. Between Brighton and Newcastle, all I wanted was a Voltemada goal, and I got my wish. He's going to get 2 bonus points though, as Danny Welbeck scored a brace. He picks up maximum bonus, and Jorginho Rota will pick up a bonus point as well. In terms of Defcon, Van Heck, probably the best Brighton defender if you want to invest with their promising fixtures on the horizon. They are a very weird team though, Brighton. They do very well against the biggest and best teams in the country, and then against teams you expect them to beat like Wolves, they kind of shit the bed if you know, for lack of a better term, I'd say. In terms of other Defcon, Vifa, who is playing as a right back, but he is classified as a midfielder in FPL, and Dan Burn did secure those for Newcastle. Yeah, I think Dan Burn could actually be a transfer in for me in Game Week 9, but I'll discuss that in my team selection. Minter was also very close to securing Defcon, and I do like him as a Brighton midfielder. Between Burnley and Leeds, Kyle Walker will get maximum bonus points after a quality assist for Ogachukwu. Dubravka and Ogachukwu will share 2 bonus points. With Defcon, Florentino Luis has been an absolute monster. He has picked up Defcon in every single game he has started for Burnley since Game Week 4, and you might have remembered his name from UCL Fantasy during his time at Benfica. He was a ball recovery machine back then, so I'm honestly not surprised to see him do so well with his Defcon system. Esteve did secure Defcon as well, so he's going to get a healthy return, and Kyle Walker and Twan Sebe also picked up defensive contribution points, which is very promising. In the free thriller between Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, Jean-Philippe Mateta unsurprisingly picks up maximum bonus points after scoring a hat-trick. Krupi Jr. gets 2. He wasn't too far off, to be fair. And Daniel Munoz picks up 1 bonus point after picking up 2 assists for Crystal Palace. Chris Richards and Daniel Munoz secured Defcon, and for Bournemouth, it was Senesi, Adams, and Diakite who did the business. For the other 3 games, Man City 2, Everton 0. Erling Haaland once again got maximum bonus points. O'Reilly got 2 after picking up an assist for the first goal. Matheus Nunes also picked up a bonus point. With Defcon, Nico Gonzalez was the only Man City player to do so. And for Everton, my boy and I, one of my favourite FPL options this season, he got 15 defensive contributions. Garner and Tarkovsky also secured Defcon. Sunderland 2, Wolves 0. I had Roofs in FPL Challenge, which I'll show you very soon. So Mukiele got maximum bonus points. He was the only goal scorer of the match, the only kind of proper goal scorer, let's say, because Krejci scored a ridiculous own goal towards the end of the game. Ballard got 2, and the same goes for Hume. They both share that. With Defcon, Lefay, Xhaka, Mukiele, and Ballard all secured Defcon, and for Wolves, it was Andre, Menetzi, and that's it. And finally, in the game that just went by, Fulham 0, Arsenal 1, Gabriel got maximum bonus points, Saka gets 2, and Trossard, who scored the winner, got 1 bonus point. So Saka was the only Arsenal player to get Defcon. Gabriel wasn't too far away. I think at halftime he had 2 defensive actions, so it definitely stepped up in the second half, and his performance also improved. For Fulham, it was Cuenca, and that's about it in terms of defensive contributions. He played fairly well against Arsenal. So we've got 3 games left, as I talked about before, but let's talk about the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, and up until Game Week 14, Chelsea are top, Arsenal are just behind them, with Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Nottingham Forest in the top 5, and they will have a new manager in the coming days. Sunderland, Leeds, Spurs, Brentford, and Newcastle are in the bottom 5, but that shouldn't put you off from the likes of Nick Voltemada, who has looked outstanding for Newcastle so far this season. With predicted points, Haaland is top, but only just, with 6.8 facing Aston Villa away. Salah is a close second. Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Gabriel, Saka, Cucurella, Joao Pedro, Isak, and Amad Diallo are also in the top 10, according to Fantasy Football Hub. Let's actually optimize my team using their My Team feature. So they recommend Reinders on the bench, which is my current plan. They also recommend starting Sanchez over Dubravka with a more appealing fixture on paper. And let's see what transfers they recommend, because I did roll in Game Week 8. I've now got 2 free transfers, and they say Pedro Porro to Timber, which I do like the look of, but I'll be honest, I'm looking at Lacroix away to Arsenal and Konsa against Man City at home, and ideally, I would improve upon Konsa. So I'll show you very soon, using the website FPL.team, what my current plans are, and they'll be delved into in my team selection with more detail. But this is the website I talked about earlier, livefpl.net. Only 2 price changes are highlighted here. Let me refresh just in case, but yeah, now it's free. Declan Rice, Pope, and Stack. Didn't expect that. In terms of price falls, though, Gibbs White, Doughty, or Doughty, I should say, Sinchenko, Murillo, Cunha, Esugu, White, Bruno Fernandes, Lisandro Martinez, Rogers, and also Amdouni, Rodri, and Valdimarson. So a lot of changes from what I showed you earlier during the deadline stream, but I'll put a link in the live chat so it makes it easier for you to keep track of these price changes. They typically happen at, what, 1:30 in the morning in the UK? I need to double check this because, yeah, with the time change that's going to happen in the next week, that will also be different. But if you do join my Discord server, you will keep track of all the injury updates and all the price changes that happen. So let me just quickly check this. Yeah, the price are updated at 2:30 a.m. in the UK, and recently it's been 2:34 if you want the exact minute. And when the clocks change in the UK, it will be 1:34. That's when the price changes will commence. So hopefully you have followed me throughout that sort of waffleog, as they say. I also want to compare the stats of 2 Chelsea defenders. They'll be of very big interest after their clean sheet against Forest, but I have to say they should have conceded. I have no idea how Forest didn't score a goal. They hit the crossbar. They missed some big chances. Multiple players were guilty of that. But Reece James was the star today for Chelsea. He got a goal and assist, and his total now looks very impressive. In 8 matches, he has 4 goal contributions. Only 1 shot inside the box, but 7 shots overall, 4 on target. The XG is low, but still higher than Cucurella, and the expected assist is quite similar, but the Spaniard does take the lead there. 1 big chance for James compared to Cucurella's 0. Big chance created, 3 apiece. And for key passes, it's the exact same for both Cucurella and Reece James. I think long-term, though, it's still Cucurella for me, with Reece James, quality right-back, but so many injury problems over the years. And I do have a similar sort of feeling with Calafiori. If both players can stay fit, they're good FPL options, there's no denying that. And by the way, I love watching those 2 players play, but yeah, you have to also be quite mindful about saving future transfers and avoiding injury-prone players when possible. But Reece James, if he continues like this and doesn't get rotated so much, he is a quality FPL asset, but it's just about the reliability and consistency. So let me give you a sneak peek into my transfer plans for Game Week 9. So this would be my provisional team at the moment. Definitely subject to change. Sanchez over Dubravka is very likely, and it would increase the expected points a little bit. What I want to do is something like this. Concert to one of Senesi or Dan Burn. I'll go for Burn for now, and then start Burn over Lacroix. And as much as I like Bruno Fernandes against Brighton, and I don't think he's an obvious sell, I could do something like this where I go from Bruno Fernandes to Saka, or, you know what? I'm going to keep Fernandes for now. This is what I'm going to do. Or my current plan. Just buy Dan Burn, bolster that defensive line a little bit, and then in Game Week 10, I think that's the best time to get the likes of Sarr and also Saka. So then Gakpo makes way. Even though he's got a home fixture against Villa, he could definitely get a return there. And Bruno Fernandes against Nottingham Forest away. So something like this could work. I know I'd have 0.2 million in the bank, but will those players go up in price by that stage? It's possible. So maybe I'd be priced out of those moves by the time we get to Game Week 10. But that is my current plan. And it also prevents me from having to use the wild card. I've also got Reinildo against Everton if I want to go there, or Lacroix against Brentford. I'll probably go for that. And bench Borro, who is facing Chelsea. And that looks very solid, by the way. I think that is my current transfer plans. I'll talk more about that very soon. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Of course, it's not perfect. Some wildcards will look a little bit better, but it could also be of big interest and also a massive upgrade and also tool to save the wildcard until Game Week 13 or around that time. And then have 5 free transfers in Game Week 16. But until I feel the need to wildcard, I'm not going to pull the trigger, to be quite honest with you. Let's now go to FPL Challenge, where I have scored 58 points. Gabriel will get maximum bonus. The same goes for Erling Haaland, who I captained. Rufs is in goal. He got a 7-pointer. That actually might increase. That is possible. I did go for the bonus points earlier, but I need to double check. I don't think he got bonus points, to be fair. Yeah, he was quite close, but no. No cigar. He was 4th in the bonus point system. So yeah, that is going to be it. 58 until now. I've got Bowen left in FPL Challenge and Salah tomorrow, so that's looking very promising. It's a full house, even though Semenyo was a little bit underwhelming. And let's go back to your questions. Very soon, I'll show you my predicted lineups and show you the kind of scores I've gotten after all the lineups came out today. And my scoreline predictions, where the only one I've gotten correct so far is Arsenal 1, Fulham 0. Ahmad says 3 successful -4s in a row on a roll. 73 points after deduction. Gakpo and Kudus left to play. Yeah, that's rewarding when you take a hit and still get a green arrow. And that shows consistency. I got 75 points in back-to-back weeks and now I'm on 66, but very happy with that, to be fair. I know some people are saying, oh, I've got 90, I've got 100, but all you can do is focus on yourself, and I think 73 points is a very good score. You could easily get to 80 by the end of tomorrow. Dubravka scored Raya by 3 points. Yes, my friend actually, Jamie, did ask me about Raya versus Dubravka. He's in my mini league. He's absolutely smashing it this week, by the way, but I recommended Raya, so it did cost him 3 points, but they both got clean sheets, so it could have been worse. I mean, I still stand by that decision, and I'm very happy that Dubravka got the clean sheet. So yeah, let's go through the other messages and stuff. Obviously, there's no deadline, so there's no rush or anything. Oh, let's get every question. Like, let's chill, let's have some fun. But there's a lot of messages here. There's a lot, so I'm going to try skim through these. Keith says 87 points. Yeah, I think the emoji is justified. Very good score. Sekine says, hi Dylan, very disappointed about Gyökeres. I understand. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I understand that. I also feel the same way despite not owning him. But as an Arsenal fan, I want more from him. And I think today, he didn't have any big chances, but his shooting was terrible. He had one chance, which I think normally he would bury or at least get on target, and he completely scuffed it. So yeah, he needs to step up. And ultimately, for those that don't have Gyökeres or Saka, I'm going to say Saka all day long. And I talked about this before Game Week 7, where Gyökeres was the template pick and Saka had low ownership. The penalty obviously swayed things, you know, in a very big way, but I still felt that Saka had more routes to points and he's very consistent for Arsenal. Mukiele looks like the better pick compared to Alderete. He did play at left back today, which played a big part in the goal. But in terms of DEFCON, both Alderete and Mukiele are very solid. Obviously, this time Alderete didn't pick them up, but yeah, Mukiele was in my wildcard video. You can check it. The receipts are there. I'm not making it up. Bruno predicted to fall. Yeah, but don't sell Bruno just because he's going to go down in price, unless you really want Saka and you're going to be priced out, and then you might have to wait 3-4 weeks to get him or something. I'm quite comfortable to go about Saka until Game Week 10. I think Crystal Palace will be a tough cookie for Arsenal, and that could be another cagey game, but yeah, I think Fernandes is actually a hold against Brighton, to be honest. Yeah, Joachim Andersen picked up an injury. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I was watching with Argentinian commentary, and they were actually very surprised as well about the injury. Fulham had a lot of problems during the game, like Kearney as well. But yeah, with Joachim Andersen, I'm not sure exactly what it was. I know Kearney had a shoulder problem. I need to check with Joachim Andersen. Company cooking with Bayern this season, 11 wins in a row. Yeah, I mean, there is a lack of competition in the Bundesliga, but it's still an impressive, you know, achievement, and Bayern Munich have experienced one of the best starts in history across Europe's top 5 leagues. Time to let Joao Pedro go for the other JP, Mateta. The thing is, though, this could easily swing the other way, and are you going to sell Joao Pedro when he faces Sunderland at home compared to Mateta against Arsenal away? I know the Frenchman got a good return against Arsenal last season at the Emirates, but that was also a rotated Arsenal side that had nothing to play for in the league. I think this will be a little bit different. Alicia Gyökeres is taking shots. Yeah, I agree. Joao Pedro is just doing nothing. No shots in the last 4-5 matches. It's simply not good enough. But Gyökeres, I still want more from him. I mean, both of them have been underwhelming. They had a promising start after the first 4 game weeks, and they've tailed off since then. We need more. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Saka got 7, as people corrected. Obviously, I did talk about that a few minutes after. And thank you to Cylindra for pointing it out, because yeah, I was unaware that the return was that good, actually, considering he actually blanked in terms of goals and assists. Hoping Mancini returns back to the Premier League, City legend. Yeah, I'm not sure it'd be a good appointment, though, but I'd happily be proven wrong. He did a good job with Italy in the Euros, maybe not so much in terms of qualifying for the World Cup, but yeah, I'm not so sure about that appointment. Next week, Semenyo captain. Well, Ange Postecoglou is no longer there, so I'd be less keen on it. But ultimately, you can go against Haaland for the captaincy. I think with those with Salah, for example, that could be another great alternative. And if Salah returns tomorrow, there'll be a big push towards that sort of conversation. Yeah. And you got sacked quicker than the Boar, who lost like 7 consecutive games for Crystal Palace back in the day. Yeah, even Jose Mourinho was onto him, calling him the worst manager in Premier League history. Thoughts on Gyökeres? In hindsight, would you have preferred Sesko for Arsenal? Not really, no. I still think Sesko's raw. And let's not forget, Sesko went 6 games without a goal or assist in the Premier League. If you kind of entertain 007 stuff, he was very close to achieving that. And if you also include the Slovenia games, he actually went 008. But look, Gyökeres is still the better goal scorer. Sesko has more potential, but there's no guarantee he fulfills that, especially at United, which has been a poison chalice for young footballers over the years. Look at Højlund, who's now doing bits at Napoli, and also multiple other players that we've seen like McTominay. But yeah, with Gyökeres, look, I understand that. I had that sort of feeling after the first 2 games that maybe, or after the first game, that people would have this narrative that Sesko would do better at Arsenal and Gyökeres at United, but I don't think it's a mistake per se. He needs to work though. He was a big money signing for 55 million with add-ons to 64, but yeah, he was brought in to score goals. He had a good start. Now he's tailed off. He needs to get back on track. It's as simple as that, but I still think he's better than Sesko. There's no doubt about that. Then I go to games per his team. Take it to get Arsenal defence. I'm not sure about a hit, to be honest. I mean, Senesi's facing Forest at home. He can get DEFCON. You keep, you start. Van Dijk against Brentford away. Borro against Everton away. As much as I like Gabriel and all these Arsenal defenders like Timber, they're facing Crystal Palace at home next. They'll probably concede in that game, and they've got Atletico Madrid in midweek. So I wouldn't take it for an Arsenal defender. You're in a good position. I think buy Saka if you can. For Foden, I'm guessing that's the route. You don't need to buy an Arsenal defender for a hit. If Fulham scored an equaliser, Arsenal fans wouldn't start moaning for centuries, by the way. That's not necessarily true, to be honest. I mean, I even tweeted in terms of the penalty decision that was correct. And my problem with it is that they took so long to disallow it. It was so obvious, and they added so much added time as a consequence of how long they took. But I don't really think that. If you just base your perception of Arsenal fans off what you see on social media, then you're just going to think the worst of them. Not every Arsenal fan is like that. Zetlin says Chalobah, Burn, OG. Gay, Richards in for Gvardiol. Need the money for Caicedo to Enzo. Yeah, but Caicedo will start the next game, and so will Enzo probably. I'm not sure if you should do Caicedo to Enzo per se. I talked about this before the Gameweek 8 deadline. If you have Enzo, you keep. If you got Caicedo, you keep. I wouldn't go from one to the other. If I was wildcarding and I had enough funds, I would have a slight preference for Enzo, but not enough for me to go from one to the other with a normal transfer. Ahmad says, I was so nervous after the Chelsea game. My game looked grim, but the turnaround was epic. Munoz was electric in the second half. Yeah, I kind of felt, oh, did I make a mistake already by not starting Sanchez? So that was in the back of my mind. And then I thought, yeah, Rangers is probably going to haul against Everton and stuff. But once I saw him subbed off early, things just started falling in place, and things went my way this week. So I can't really complain. And I'm happy that you got the 2 assists from Munoz. He's a very good FPL asset on his day. Basuna says, hey Dylan, 79 points with Borro, Kudus and Fernandes to play. Nice. Mateta and Burnley defence coming in clutch. Yeah, whenever a player of yours scores a hat-trick, it's a great feeling. And Jean-Philippe Mateta, after weeks of disappointment, has finally turned up, and I think he's made up for it. With my team above, I can't afford Gabriel. Should I just get Timber? Well, I just wait another week, and then if you can, get Gabriel that way. But Timber's my second favourite Arsenal defender. Ben White is available, though. He was on the bench today, and we could see the odd rest for Timber. Like against Burnley, would I be surprised if Timber was on the bench? No, I actually think that will happen. So if you're kind of comfortable, or at least you can accept that in some of the easier fixtures Timber could get a rest for a quality right back in Ben White, then yeah, Timber's fine. He's better than Saliba and Calafiori long-term, in my opinion, but as long as Calafiori stays fit, I do like him a lot, but that's the main issue there. Ashwin says, I think it's time to stop playing FPL, not worth the hassle. Well, it's definitely not worth stressing over, I agree, but yeah, give it tomorrow. If you've got plenty of players left on the Sunday, I wouldn't be drawing those conclusions just yet. I would not sell Gyökeres to Voltemada for a -4, no. If it was free, I'd maybe consider it, if it opened up an Arsenal spot or it gives you funds for Saka, but no, not for a -4. The bonus points will be calculated in the next hour or so. Probably by the end of the deadline, or the reaction stream I should say, we will see the bonus points being allocated. 1C Celsius says 69 points of Kudus, Van de Ven, and Salah to play. Gay 1 DEFCON away from 2 points, and Reinders 1 minute away from 2 extra points. Yeah, that's what I mean. I was a bit fortunate there with Reinders being subbed off early. It was a great moment for me, I guess, FPL-wise. But yeah, good score, though. And you've got decent players left. I mean, Salah could get you to 80 points alone. So I'd be quite confident for you. I'd say 80-plus points is on the horizon. Only 54 on wildcard with Paqueta to play. Disappointing start. Yes, I'm guessing you got one of Gyökeres or Saka. But Saka obviously got a good return this week. It's still early days. I always tell people with a wild card, you always want to get off to the best possible start. It gives you confidence and it prevents you from making early transfers, and you can then save them and roll for future weeks. But it's about the long term with the wild card. Triple defense instead of Saka and double defense? No. I mean, why would you do that? Saka got 7 points today, played very well. He should have gotten a goal contribution. I've been very consistent on this. 2 Arsenal defenders or Raya in goal with Saka. That's the way to go. Who to play between Dubravka and Pope next week? Nick Pope. Chelsea have an allergic reaction with red cards. Wonder why. That's 5 consecutive games, by the way. Arsenal used to have this problem of getting a lot of red cards. I think it's to do with a lot of young players, inexperience. Yeah. I mean, Enzo Maresca is technically one of those red cards, but it's 4 red cards in 5 matches if you want to discount that. Yeah, they will learn, I think. JP to Bowen or Mateta. I'd still keep João Pedro. He's facing Sunderland next, who have been decent this season, but I think Chelsea will win that game. Football Highlight says, I went with Gyökeres and Saka, which is different to have both, but it didn't work this week. 7 points from Saka is fine. Gyökeres is the problem, but I still feel the goals will come with him. He just needs to get more opportunities, and he needs to do a little bit more overall with his all-round play. Up to 140k, what a start for me with wildcard 13 still to play and bench boost 11. And free hit. Okay, so you penciled in 11 for the bench boost. You could even consider a free hit in Gameweek 11. Just use a website like FPL.team, visualize future game weeks, and then see how things look like in terms of the fixtures. But that's a great position to be in. Sell Foden and Reinders? I'd say so. Now, Foden has a good record against Villa, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, ultimately they are sellable. Hey Dylan, wondering what you think about triple Arsenal defence. It's clear Arsenal would rather defend and score more goals, and it's a guaranteed 6 points along with a change for attacking returns. Look, I'm an Arsenal fan, so naturally I'll disagree with what you said. Arsenal, their best quality is their defensive work as a team. So I understand what you're saying, but if you look at the chances created today, Arsenal should have won by more. It should have been a 2 or 3-0 win. Fulham were the ones who were very defensive. They sat back, and when Arsenal were on the attack, you had like 9 Fulham players in the box. So I do feel there's a little bit of a misperception about Arsenal about, no, just park the bus or they defend, rely on set pieces. I think there's a little bit more to it, but yeah, could they sometimes be a little bit more open and express themselves, give players like Eze more freedom? Perhaps they should, but I also think that Eze, for example, today played very poorly, and Arsenal, whilst not playing at their best, still got a comfortable win against Fulham, and despite a few shaky moments in the first half, I don't think Fulham did enough in the second to really cause Arsenal problems, but no, not for me. Triple Arsenal defence is an option. I wouldn't discount it fully, but I've been very consistent on it. 2 Arsenal defenders and Saka. My preference would be Raya, Gabriel and Saka, if you want to pinpoint 3 players specifically. 69 points did Reinders to Gakpo, have Kudus and Borro left. Interesting to buy Gakpo now. He could do well against Man United, but he's actually someone I want to sell in the coming weeks. A lot of people have mentioned Van de Ven or Borro alongside Kudus. They are quite template options, to be honest, but yeah, I think one of them should return. 76 points of bench boost, good score, and if you've got more players left, the merrier. Play Rodon or Senesi playing against Forest. It's still Senesi for me. Despite the new manager bounce, Senesi can get DEFCON. Sold Mateta on wildcard. Yeah, very disappointing. I'm not going to say you made the wrong decision because for a Gameweek 8 wildcard, I think Mateta was 5th or 6th in my sort of forwards list. So you're still up there, but not quite at the level of Haaland, Bowen, and probably João Pedro. So that is very disappointing. For those that didn't wildcard this week, though, and you can check back the deadline stream, I'm not making this up. People ask me, should I sell Mateta to Voltemada? And in some cases for a hit. And I said no, just stick with Mateta. Now, did I expect a hat-trick? Absolutely not. But I'm happy with Voltemada's 8 points anyway. Should I stick with Gyökeres and Pedro? Yes, I would. Now, it's frustrating when you see Voltemada score, get 8 points, you see Mateta getting a hat-trick. Haaland scores a brace, but I'm guessing you've got him. But I still think that holds. Yeah, Eddie says 76 points, Bruno Fernandes left. Hopefully he gets a return against Liverpool tomorrow and United win. Come on, United. Yep. Mancia Finish says Middlesbrough, Coventry, Stoke in the top 3 in the Championship. Yeah, very interesting set of names there. Yeah, I think from those 3, I mean, Stoke is my least favourite for historical reasons. But yeah, Middlesbrough and Coventry. Would be good to see them back in the Prem. I'm on 82 points on my bench boost. Made it to the top 40k with Isak and Kudus to play. A lot of bench boosts flying around, and I understand it. Good score, and a very, very impressive rank. Hopefully, well, actually, no, I don't want Liverpool or Spurs to do something. Just good luck. Good luck to you, not to those players. Native Faith says 97 points with a bench boost, although I got 5 points from 3 players on the bench. Yeah, incredible score. Very close to 100. If you've got 1 player left, you're there or thereabouts, really. Also sold Mateta on the wild card, but I don't regret. Shit happens. It's exactly that, right? Massive swing. Fantastic underlying stats. No one would have expected it. I'm just going to go through the moderator and member questions, and then, if possible, I'll go to the other comments that were posted earlier, just so we can kind of catch up a little bit. Weiseng says 51 minus 4 and still red arrow. I wonder who harmed me. Yeah, that's disappointing. It's not a terrible score, but there's a lot of high scores flying around in general, which makes it very difficult. Yeah, 3-3 and Semenyo Sarr didn't score. I still think long-term they're 2 of the best midfielders, though. I'm going to stand by that. Yokris says Burnley and Sunderland in the next 3. He will get points. I agree. Burnley is the better fixture on paper. And ultimately, Yokris can score against the biggest and best teams in the country, but he hasn't done it yet. He needs to prove himself in the Prem, and I think he will over time, but I haven't been happy with him in the recent matches, particularly against West Ham and today. Should I hold on to Yokris and Fernandes or sell to Sak and Voltemada? I do prefer Sak and Voltemada as a duo. I won't deny that, but I would probably keep Yokris and Fernandes for 1 more week at least, and then you can make the switch. The bonus points should be out fairly soon. I haven't checked yet. Maybe I'll check now. And if they are updated, I will go through them very quickly. So just give me a second. So usually with these reaction streams, I go live for like 2-3 hours. It might be a little bit shorter because you can probably tell my voice is struggling. But yeah, I'll do my best. The bonus points aren't out just yet. It's worth saying. But once they are, I'll update it and you can see my ranks and stuff. Ranks? Well, no, that's already updated according to livefpl.net. Yeah, Saka, Defcon and 2 bonus hit me like crack. What a day. He played really well. He deserved the points, to be fair. I'm a bit gutted from an FPL perspective that he got those points, but it is well deserved. Ahmed says, awful game week for me. All but Gabriel and Haaland, who are owned by everyone, delivered. Need to have a huge game for Salah tomorrow to salvage whatever glimpse of hope there is. Yeah, that is very frustrating. I do think Salah will perform against United tomorrow, and you definitely need that. Yeah, and as we mentioned before, a lot of people are having high scores, which makes it very disappointing when you have a red arrow or things just don't go your way. Your only 2 players in return are templates. So yeah, hopefully the Sunday games do go well for you. Arsenal are like professional hitmen. They just get a clean kill and leave the scene. I still would want them to get 2 or 3 goals to kind of just kill the game completely. But that is a good point. Compared to last season where they left a lot of games kind of up in the air and ultimately they drew a lot of those games, they are winning them more often now. And I think there's more confidence in general from the fan base and the players, the staff, about winning the league this season. And they have to. On paper, in terms of the squad, it's the best in the Prem. They now need to deliver. We'll wait and see if they do. Sub Senesi out for Mukiele, last minute whoop. Nice. I can't remember exactly if I said Senesi or Mukiele. I believe I recommended Mukiele. I believe I did that in a lot of situations just because I thought Sunderland have a better chance of a clean sheet. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, technically, Chelsea are not allergic to red cards. They're allergic to not getting them, if you want to think of it that way. Double Sunderland defense punt finally paid off. Mukiele Hall. Nice. I still don't like it long term, but yeah, you got the points now. Enjoy them. I think having 1 is definitely a good play. Either Rifson goal or Mukiele/Alderete. I think Isak will start tomorrow, but it really depends, right? Because they could save him for the Champions League, and there you see Ekitike start instead. But they are facing Frankfurt away in matchday 3. That's Ekitike's former club. In my opinion, Ekitike will start that game in the Champions League, and Isak starts tomorrow, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. And very soon I'll be going through my predicted lineups and, kind of going through them. Is that 5 red cards in the last 6 now for Chelsea? Yes. Yes, I believe so. João Pedro in the Champions League against Benfica. Robert Sanchez against Man United. Chalobah against Brighton. Gusto against Forest. Maresca against Liverpool, if you want to count that as well. The Red Derby prediction. Salah 1 goal, 1 assist. Oh, Bruno missing another penalty. Please, no. I've had enough of that bullshit. Gakpo subbed off with 2 points. So basically, anyone I own does shit, and if I don't have Salah, he's going to do amazing. Fuck that. Is Achimpong nailed? No, he's not nailed, but yeah, with Badiashile out for the next few weeks, that does open the door for Achimpong. But you've also got the Champions League in midweek against Ajax. They're going to rotate between him and Hato, and there's also Tosin Adarabioyo. So in my original predicted lineups video yesterday, I had Achimpong starting, but I couldn't really guarantee you that will be the case in Game Week 9 as well. Best 6.5 for the next Game Week. I'm guessing that's midfielder. Yeah, not Ismaila Sarr against Arsenal on paper, but that's a difficult one. That's a good question. I'm going to say... yeah, Enzo Fernandez is just a little bit above that threshold. He'd be my favourite. Jadon Anthony is a shout, I'd say. But not really feeling a lot of these players. Maybe Ndai against Tottenham. Yeah, I'll stick with Ndai for now, but... yeah, Caicedo, Enzo are definitely decent for Chelsea against Sunderland. Hey Dylan, how are you? I'm doing well as I'm on 67 points because of Haaland, Mateta, Gabriel and Munoz returning. Yeah, that Palace game definitely came in clutch for you. 2 assists for Munoz, hat-trick for Mateta. Very good day. Enjoy the points. Will Anderson play next game week? I don't know the severity of the injury, but my guess would be no. Yeah, Rice at 6.5, that's a decent shout, but it's Palace. But yeah, I do like that shout. Reece James, my man. Yeah, hopefully he can stay fit because, yeah, over the last couple of years, he's been quite disappointing with the injuries there. Virgil, Xavi Simons, Bowen and Gakpo to go. Should I feel optimistic? Yeah, I'd say so. I think 2 of those players will return. The most likely are Bowen and Gakpo, in my opinion. Yeah, Haaland, 11 goals so far in the Premier League. The Golden Boot is wrapped up already, and it's October, basically. If Haaland stays fit, he's going to win it. And hopefully other players step up. I did go through this already, Zero, the bonus points. So Gabriel's going to get maximum for Arsenal. Saka gets 2. Trossard gets 1. Yeah, if possible, I'll go through it again, but it is all in the stream already. Enzo and Caicedo hurt me this week. I thought both of them would start, so I hold my hands up there, but ultimately, they're the sort of players that if they're fit enough to start, they're going to play. The last time Caicedo didn't start for Chelsea was in December of 2023, and they lost to Wolves 2-1. So it has been a long while. While Kripke Jr. is filling in for Evanesson whilst he's injured, I still think for Bournemouth it's Semenyo and Senesi. I do like Clive at moving forwards if he can get consistent minutes and starts, and I think that will be the case, but yeah, I think with Bournemouth, just stick with the 2 template options, unfortunately. And up front, you've got Gyökeres, I still think he'll come good. Haaland, João Pedro, Bowen, Voltemada and Mateta. They're the top 6 forwards in the game, even though Gyökeres and João Pedro have been falling down the power rankings for forwards as well. Haaland, 23 goals for club and country just in October. Great numbers, but imagine Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, who did even better. I mean, they're absolute freaks of the game. But yeah, let's not look too much into the past. El Hassan says 71 points with the Egyptian, and Van der Ven left, 350 in the world. That's a great rank. If Salah delivers tomorrow, could get into the top 100 for the first time. Well, I don't want Salah to do well, but I do wish you the best there, El Hassan, and I think Salah will produce. I do feel that way. And yes, John S., I feel that he will do the business. Zero says 68 points with bench boost, got Bruno and Romero left. Yeah, hopefully Bruno gets a return, even though I'm not that optimistic against Liverpool away, and Romero is decent for Defcon. Sunderland eyeing up Europe. Great start for them, but it's still early days, and we'll see, because if they get injuries and stuff, obviously DR is a big miss for them right now, and Reinildo was suspended. We'll see how they kind of navigate those injuries, and they've got some very tough games coming up, like Arsenal, so we'll see if they can get some points in those sort of matches as well. I reckon Alan breaks his own Premier League goal tally. It's possible, I wouldn't rule it out, but I think he'll fall just shy of that. He'll get over 30 Premier League goals. I'd say 33 is my prediction. So yeah, welcome Denegator Games. I did go through your question earlier, by the way. Just saying. What do you think of Searles to Pope and Livramento to Chalobah, James for free? I like the look of that. Rye's my favourite goalkeeper in FPL, but Pope is right up there. And then selling the injured Livramento to a Chelsea defender. Look, if you want to risk it, the ceiling is there with James. It could be, well, it's either an absolute masterstroke and you enjoy a lot of points, or you just get disappointed by injuries, because that's what Reece James has really been over the last couple of years. Massive hauls and then injuries. But I'd take a punt on James. And I rarely say this, by the way. I rarely say this. Normally when people ask me about James, I'm like, no, don't go for him. But when you compare him to the other Chelsea defenders, his underlying stats, the way he's playing, yeah, if he can stay fit, play most matches, I'd go for Reece James. Wei Seng says Van der Ven to James or Timber. To James? Who the fuck's James? Oh, am I being stupid? What, Tarkovsky? Look, as much as I like Timber, I'd still keep that spot open for Saka in the midfield. And I feel Saka's going to get plenty of goal contributions in the next couple of weeks if he starts those matches, and I think he will start 4 of the next 5. So, yeah, Saka for me. In Die 15 Defcons, would have had assist too. Yes, yeah. Beto, oh my god. This guy is a terrible finisher. He started hitting the post. Mate, don't blame the post. That is your fucking fault. That was a horrible miss. Yeah, and Die played very well against Man City. Very unfortunate not to get a return there, but at least he got Defcon. Yeah, Reece James looking good again and injury-free. Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm shifting my opinion. Normally over the years I say avoid him, and then he gets injured shortly afterwards, but yeah, I think James is a good pickup right now. FPL is depressing the hell out of me right now. Yeah, when things don't go your way, I understand why people have that sort of reaction, but ultimately, if you've got players left on the Sunday, give them time, we'll see how they do, and things could change, because I had this sort of pattern last season. I had a terrible Saturday. The Sunday was normally okay, and then things were a little bit better, but yeah, you always want to do as well as you can. Well, I think Tosin would be first choice at the moment. Obviously, with Levi Cole out for most of the season. Once Badiashile is back, I'd probably envisage him alongside Chalobah, but until that happens, I think it's going to be Tosin. If you want a Chelsea defender, though, I'd say go for James. I think Chalobah is still decent. He's the one I'd go for in central defence, and Cucurella is still fine. Yeah, a lot of people mentioning Reece James. Imagine actually getting sacked before Amorim twice. Yeah, well, we'll see if the patience route with Amorim is going to pay off. In terms of XG, they're actually second in the Premier League, only behind Arsenal, which is quite surprising. Swan's Killer says Zubamendi and Rodgers to Saka and Caicedo for a -4. I'd say yes. Looks very promising. You could also consider Minter if you have a bit more money in the bank. Jacques is okay. And if you want a Defcon machine, Florentino Luis has been getting them in every single match he has started. So I wouldn't mind that, actually, from that Burnley midfield. So my answer is yes. Saka is worth it alone. Don't break my heart. My Ekatike heart, says Snotters. Need a Bruno return tomorrow for a green arrow. Yeah, hopefully Bruno gets a return, but he's been very frustrating for me. Can I get 100 points, score 92 on a bench boost with Kudus and Paqueta left to play? You definitely can. You just need one return from one of them, and that will do the trick. Reece James is actually back? Yes, it looks like it, but you never know. They might need to rest him in certain games like the Champions League and Carabao Cup. And if that's the case, things are looking good in the Premier League. Joao Pedro, Haaland, Voltemada. That is my current front three. If I was able to make unlimited transfers, I'd probably have Bowen over Joao Pedro for the next 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, there's not really much separating them in general. I still think Joao Pedro is a hold, but he has been really poor in recent weeks. I mean, I'm just saying, by the way, I'm going to defend Gyökeres a little bit more. People are getting onto Gyökeres, who is more expensive to be fair, but what about Joao Pedro? He's not even having shots. He's doing nothing for the last couple of weeks. 4 consecutive blanks. He also needs to do more. Easy says, if Wirtz goes double 08 tomorrow, will Ekitike play the Wirtz role behind Isak in the future game weeks? They might play together tomorrow, which I talked about in the Game Week 8 deadline stream, but yeah, I think Wirtz could still get the nod. Szoboszlai right back, McAllister, Gravenberch in the midfield. And as I mentioned earlier in this stream, I think Isak gets the nod tomorrow and Ekitike plays against Frankfurt in the Champions League. I was going to get Gordon, but fixture congestion concerns me. Yeah, I'll be honest with Gordon. He's a decent pick, but I've never been that big of a fan of him. A lot of people started gravitating towards Gordon because of the 2 penalties he scored against Union Saint-Gilloise in matchday 2 of the Champions League. Voltemade is my favourite from Newcastle. I've said this very consistently, and I'm happy I bought him. Relax Gamer says, I was going to make a late transfer, but bit my tongue and did not. Next week, I might have to part ways with Joao Pedro. I'd keep him for now, still. But Joao Pedro, of course, if he blanks in the next 2, there'll be a big push towards selling him, and then he can start returning. You know how FPL can be, but yeah, I'm not against people who are selling Joao Pedro. I talked about this a few weeks ago. If you want to go away from the template and do something a bit different, go for Voltemade and Bowen alongside Erling Haaland, which is something I also discussed in my wildcard video only a few days ago. Twisted Parky says, I did one yesterday. Philogene is not a loner. Wait, what? He's just the boy who plays for Ipswich Town. But the goal was not offside. So there's a song. He says we're going up. Yeah, the goal was not offside. Oh, is that Michael Jackson? What is happening here? 66 with triple West Ham left. Diouf, Paqueta, Bowen. Triple West Ham. Good luck. Good luck. But I do like Bowen. And the other 2 are still decent picks in isolation, but I would not recommend a West Ham triple up. I'm not that familiar with Krupi Jr., but he did score twice for the French under-21 side in the recent international game. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with him, but he got the goals today. Not exquisite finishes, but he was there. He got the business. Well, he did the business, and was only bettered by Mateta in that game. Man City finish says, and just like that, Sunderland have more points in 8 matches than Southampton last season. I never would have expected that. Never. What game week are you looking to play the free hit? Game week 11 is a possibility, but it all depends on when I wildcard. For example, if I get a lot of injuries and stuff like that going into Game Week 9, I might wildcard in 9, and that changes when I bench boost and free hit, but my current plan is Game Week 11. I need Salah to do something, then I think I have to cash in. The thing is, though, it's Brentford away and Aston Villa at home over the next 3. So the bonus points are in, so I'll be showing you those updated figures for FPL Challenge and FPL very soon. But all the graphics on the left, I've been up to date using the website livefpl.net. And yeah, you can see the points in terms of how they look like in the FPL website very soon. But let me show you my scoreline predictions. So I did change the Chelsea one after seeing their lineup to 1-1, but it didn't save here, which is lucky for me, right? You could say, but yeah, I still didn't get the scoreline prediction right. I predicted a Chelsea win originally, but they won 3-0. And honestly, Forest should have scored some goals. I was envisaging a low-scoring game between Burnley and Leeds, and I thought a clean sheet would happen in that game. Unfortunately for me, it was for Burnley, with Dubravka starting in my FPL squad. Brighton won, Newcastle won, was looking quite decent until that late Welbeck winner. Crystal Palace won, Bournemouth won, so correct result, but not scoreline. Man City 2, Everton 0. Actually, I've gotten 2 right. We're in business. Come on. So Man City and Arsenal, I did get those correct. Sunderland Wolves was quite close, but it was 2-0 for the Black Cats. And yeah, the Gunners just now beat Fulham 1-0 with Trossard scoring the winner. For tomorrow, I've got Tottenham 2, Aston Villa 2, Liverpool 3, Man United 1, and West Ham 2, Brentford 1. In terms of the lineups, I'll probably leave that for a future deadline stream. You can see my kind of predictions. Hopefully I'll have enough time to make those graphics. There might even be a separate predicted lineups podcast as well if people want to see it. But let's go back to FPL and FPL Challenge so you can see the bonus points that have been allocated. And actually for FPL Challenge, I've gotten even more. Oh yeah, because yeah, the big chances scored have been added now, I think. Okay. So I'm going to update this now, live, and then you'll see it very soon. So FPL Challenge is looking very promising. Semenyo was the only sort of disappointment, I'd say, but he still got something, so I'm not going to blame him too much. Okay, let's get him in. Okay. Okay, I think that is settled. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, and here we go. So Dubravka gets 9 points. He did pick up 2 bonus after that 2-0 win against Leeds United. Gabriel will get maximum bonus with that assist and clean sheet. Lacroix only got 1 point. Both Ndai and Semenyo got 4 for different reasons. Semenyo got an assist and yellow card, whilst Ndai secured DEFCON. Joao Pedro blanked once again, and Erling Haaland got maximum bonus points for Man City and 26 points overall. Nick Voltemada with a healthy 8-pointer as well. On my bench, Sanchez got a clean sheet and 5 points. He was booked towards the end of that game against Forest, and Reinders blanked and was subbed off before 60 minutes. So far, so good for me. I've got 3 players left tomorrow in Bedrepodro against Aston Villa at home, and 2 players in that massive clash tomorrow between Liverpool and Man United. Cody Gakpo and Bruno Fernandes. Hopefully one of them does return, and my preference is with Bruno Fernandes, but we'll wait and see. With FPL Challenge as well, let's go to that as well. 61 points is what I've got at the moment. Rufs gets 7 points, Gabriel with 12, Haaland with 38 because of the big chances scored, returning 6 additional points, Semenyo with 4, and I've got Salah and Bowen left over the next 2 days. The Glass Man, yes. Reece James is the Glass Man, unfortunately. You just spoke about Reece James, then 3 seconds later you said, who is James? Oh, yeah! Oh. I don't know why. I thought of it as James. Okay, yeah, just that's an absolute stinker and hooked for me. Okay, yeah. James Tarkowski. Why was I thinking of James Tarkowski? Yeah, okay, sorry. That's a horrendous one for me. Let me go back to that question then. Fuck, you know. What was that about? It's been a long day. That's my excuse. Where the fuck is that message? But yeah, either way, I did answer a few questions about James, and I'm more keen on him now than I've ever been, which is saying a lot. Do you think Salah's a hold till Gameweek 15? I mean, a lot depends on his performances coming up, and if he blanks against United, I just think people will pull the trigger. They've had enough, and rightfully so. But yeah, if Liverpool and Salah show something tomorrow, I think he's arguably a hold until Gameweek 10. Then you can start selling him. But the fixtures are quite promising. I understand your perspective, and that's a differential play against the template. So, yeah, even City away in Gameweek 11 is not too shabby for Salah. Kind of funny, Sevilla beat Barca 4-1, then lost to Mallorca 3-1. Yeah, and Barca conceded some big chances against Girona today. Their defence is quite poor, but their attack is also brilliant. Was looking to take out Mateta to bring either Voltemada or Bowen, but after a hat-trick, is it worth it? Well, I said this before the deadline stream today. Mateta has good fixtures from Gameweek 10 onwards, and after his hat-trick now, and the great underlying stats he has, I'd keep him for the next couple. Football Highlights says, I'm top 400k in the world thanks to Mukiele with 92 points and a bench boost with Paquette and Kudus left. Yeah, 100 is possible. Great rank and, yeah, solid position to be in. I did Van der Ven to Mukiele, which was a master transfer. Yeah, but just don't get carried away with it in terms of like, oh, I'm going to start Mukiele every week now. It's Chelsea away next. I know Sunderland have been good, but you probably don't want to start him in a fixture like that. Yeah, same here, Mario. Want to sell Reinders so bad, but for who? Well, at a similar price tag, Minter, Caicedo, Xhaka, Florentino Luis for DEFCON as well. If possible, though, I'd recommend the likes of Ndai and I think Ismaila Sarr still. If you can stretch to a 6-point family midfielder, long term it would be Sarr, but it is Arsenal away next week. That is something I've never heard before, so apparently it looked like Kyle Gallner. Let me search this up. I've got a lot of comparisons over the years, and that's a new one for me. Kyle Gallner. Really? Wait, he looks familiar. I've seen him somewhere. I think. Have I? Maybe. Not Strange Darling. I haven't seen that. Just putting it out there, but okay. That's something. Let me know in the comments in the live chat. Do I look like Hal Gallner? Drop a like as well. Let's get to 200 by the end of the stream. Subscribe to the channel. This will be more of a chill one since, of course, there's no deadline to look forward to. But there will be one on Tuesday for the Champions League. That will be very hectic. If you are a member or patron, you get a massive advantage of getting early access to my videos and also priority apply to comments in my videos and live streams. So if things get very busy, you'll be prioritized and you can be ahead of the curve without even needing to send in a super chat. So that is going to be another big advantage of being a channel member or patron. Ahmed says had to go for Tosin due to budget. Yeah, that makes sense. He could still start in Game Week 9, but honestly, with Chelsea defenders, it's probably Reece James, Cucurella or Chalobah. Yeah. My favourite at the moment is James, but there's always that caveat of the injuries, which we can't really ignore. 66 points with Haaland triple captain, Salah, Kudus and Van de Ven remaining. Yeah, people ask me about Haaland triple captain. I wasn't as keen on it as I was a few weeks ago, where I was telling everyone to do it in Game Week 6, but still a brace, good return, can't complain about that. Yeah, and Salah left. I think 80 plus points is on the horizon for you. Marinakis sacked Ange in the parking lot. Yeah, looks like that. I think Ange knew his fate before the match against Chelsea. Yeah, his kind of body language in the press conference on Friday was a bit telling. And honestly, there was so much noise about it. Sean Dyche being linked constantly. Yeah. To lose 3-0 against Chelsea, I mean, it is a bit harsh because I think they had the chances to score a few goals. And I think Chelsea are a bit fortunate, in my opinion, but maybe people have a different opinion. 31 points on my bench with Dubravka and Mukiele. FPL sucks so far. That is very frustrating. If you haven't bench boosted as well, you're probably thinking, I wish I did it. But yeah, hopefully the players on Sunday and Monday step up for you. Do you think Palmer absence limiting Pedro involvement? Well, we have seen a clear downturn in João Pedro's form with Cole Palmer being absent. So I think both of them are better FPL assets when together. But if Chelsea get a penalty or two in a game and João Pedro takes them, people will have a different opinion. So things do shift very quickly and narratives can be swung either way. But I think Palmer and João Pedro have a nice connection on the pitch, which we saw to a certain extent in the Club World Cup. 2 points away from cracking the top 100k. Good luck, Ahmad. Hopefully you do that. Already cracking 530 points. Good score, good points. Was confused who to sell to get Voltemada. Mateta or João Pedro. Guess who I sold? Yeah, Mateta. You sold Mateta, unfortunately. Can you break down Saka's BPS? Is it mainly crosses and defcons? Also, who are the best players for baseline BPS? Well, it doesn't tell you in the FPL website why he got them specifically, but let me break down his stats for the game. And when you watch someone play and you just have the feeling he's in the mood, and I think Saka just kept on getting past the opposing left back. He had a great game overall. So if we break things down here, so he had 2 shots, 1 on target. I mean, his chance wasn't particularly great, to be fair. But let's look at the other metrics here. So in terms of chances created, that's I think what really helped him. 7 key passes for Bukayo Saka. 14 crosses, 3 of them being accurate. 1 big chance created. So yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. The key passes and big chances created. His pass accuracy wasn't great, but he completed 28 passes. In terms of dribbling, that will also help him a little bit. He completed 6 dribbles out of 7. Very impressive. He also won 5 fouls and had 86 touches of the ball. And on top of that, he secured DEFCON. So, yeah, all of that combined, I think it's fair to say that Saka deserved the 2 bonus points. And, yeah, I wish I had him. If I had enough money, I would have sold Bruno Fernandes to Saka already. But that might be something I have to wait for until Game Week 10. Arthur says, Krupi Jr. was player of the season in the French second division in the last campaign. He's very talented, and I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually took over Evanoson's spot. At 4.5, he could be a real gem. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Obviously, he's very young. He's got potential, and he would have caught a lot of people's attention today, but I'm still not going to invest in him when you've got Voltemada, João Pedro, Gyökeres, Haaland, Mateta, and Jared Bowen. Those are the 6 forwards I'd prioritise, and I still like having 3 solid forwards, and also at a particular price point where you can change them up about a little bit and have more versatility and freedom in your structure. So if you've got Kruppi Jr., for example, and then you see, let's say, 4 or 5 forwards that look incredible, maybe like those I just mentioned, and they all start clicking at the same time, it makes it more difficult to get to those players if you've got a 4-point family and forward like Kruppi Jr. But for those that have that structure, who might want to go really heavy at the back or in the midfield, yeah, Kruppi Jr. could be of interest. But once Evanilsson's back, I still think he'll be first choice for now. Mark says, as an Arsenal supporter, what do you think of Calafiori as an FPL pick? Could he be Arsenal's Munoz? Thanks for all your work today. So I'll be honest, I've been kind of cold on Calafiori in FPL whenever I've been asked about him, and the main reason why is because of his injury record, but he has been Arsenal's best player this season. The only game where he was a bit underwhelming was against Newcastle away, but he still wasn't terrible. He had some good moments in that match. So yeah, Calafiori, I love watching him. He always has a shot, and he's got a great finish on him, by the way. Very unlucky today. He was obviously offside for the goal he scored, and he had a few good volleys and moments. But yeah, if he can stay fit, I think Calafiori is a brilliant FPL option. But that's the main concern I've got with him, a bit like Reece James. I'm obviously more keen on him now, but yeah, Gabriel for me is the top pick. He got 12 points today. Timber is second, but Ben White could still get some minutes and starts off him, as we saw against Olympiacos in the Champions League. Saliba will tick along nicely, but nothing spectacular in my opinion. So yeah, I think if Calafiori can stay fit, I would rank him above Saliba, but he would still be behind Timber, and Gabriel is still the top dog in FPL. Ashwin says Salah to Saka, Richarlison to Bowen, Gvardiol to Reece James, Reynolds to Enzo, Calafiori to Gabriel for a -4. You've got a lot of free transfers, which is very helpful. Yeah, I like all of them. Selling Salah can always backfire, but honestly, the others are such big upgrades that I'd probably do it. Yep. Even for a -4 hit. Okay. What I would say, keep Calafiori for now. Don't sell to Gabriel for a hit. That could pay off long term, but until Calafiori gets injured, and I hope he doesn't, I really don't, but yeah, I'd keep Calafiori for now, make the other transfers free. What is this game you're playing? It's FPL Challenge. It's on the FPL website and the app. You pick, well, it depends on the game week. Sometimes you get, I don't know, like a starting 11, but it's normally like a 5-a-side with outfield players, and you get a goalkeeper, and you'll have, like, for example, this week, any big chances scored return 6 additional points. So that's why Erling Haaland has 38, and in FPL, he's got significantly less with 26 points overall. Yeah, exactly that. Successful dribbles, winning fouls, and key passes. Also, defensive contributions helps a lot. Thoughts on Palace and Bournemouth defence after today? A fixture to target offensively or play the defence against most of the teams? It was a weird game though. Bournemouth were 2-0 up. Palace made the comeback. They've both got a lot of attacking quality, but Palace had even bigger opportunities. They should have won the game based on the chances they had. Mateta had an incredible chance at the end. But I still like Senesi and Palace defenders. Apart from Arsenal, Liverpool, maybe Chelsea, I don't see many defences being better than Palace and Bournemouth this season. So, yeah, I haven't really changed my mind about it too much. I understand why you're putting the question. It's a valid one, but I still think they're solid defences in general. Yeah, I think Sessegnon really struggled against Saka today. Imagine an Arsenal fan wins the free signed Xavi Simons jersey. I actually saw that. I thought of the same thing when I saw it in the Premier League blog. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably do something unethical with it, or yeah, no, let's not go into it. Player of the season of the French second division, you know, even, well, okay, let's not be too disrespectful, mate. Let's not be too disrespectful. He is a young player after all, so it's still impressive. Not everyone can do that. Leicester are washed, just seen they conceded to Portsmouth. Big up Portsmouth, come on. They used to be a regular Premier League team. 80 points with Salah to play on the bench boost. Yeah, good score, and I think Salah will do business tomorrow, so looking promising. Other than Haaland, top 3 strikers could be in form and keep the momentum in FPL. Well, I think Voltemada would be in that list, and probably Bowen. But don't discount Joao Pedro, Gyökeres, and obviously Mateta today showed up big time. Those are the top 6, but if I'm kind of basing off recent form and consistency, I think Nick Voltemada is in that conversation. He's probably second, actually, in terms of the power rankings. 2 free transfers, will you do Enzo and Voltemada to Reinders and Gyökeres? I still like Gyökeres. I don't think he's a sell, but I do like Enzo and Voltemada. And if it allows you to buy Saka in Gameweek 10, I'd go for it. Is Lewis Skelly cooked? Not necessarily. He's going to get plenty of game time in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and also in the Champions League and Premier League on the odd occasion. He's going to get a few minutes and starts, but yeah, Calafiori's been Arsenal's best player this season. Hincapie is a brilliant player. Very unlucky with the injuries so far. He's also going to get minutes, but Arsenal need the squad depth. I mean, look how many injuries they've got already. If they didn't buy Eze, they'd be playing Wanyeri or Marino in the midfield with no other options, really. So, yeah, Arsenal needed to have a big summer. They've made a lot of good signings, and yeah, I want the squad depth and competition. Tarkowski to Reece James. Yeah, I do like Tarkowski in terms of DEFCON, but Everton don't keep as many clean sheets nowadays under David Moyes. That's something I talked about from the beginning, right? But they're getting some good results, nice attacking play. Yeah, I'd probably take a punt on Reece James, actually. So yeah, sorry about that. Timber or James? Yeah, sorry about that, Weising. That's just me being stupid. Yeah, Reece James. Because you talked about having a triple Arsenal defence, right? Well, I'd rather go for James then, and then have Saka in the midfield. That would be my recommendation. Thank you, Ashwin, as well. Yeah, I agree. Calafiori to Gabriel feels a bit knee-jerk. If Calafiori's goal wasn't offside, I would not think of swapping him out for Gabriel for a -4. Yeah, I prefer Gabriel in general, but it's not worth a -4 hit. So if we see Calafiori benched against Atletico, yeah, I'd be very confident about him starting against Crystal Palace, but it'll be interesting to see how Arsenal line up against Atletico and Palace, because there will be rotation. Marino will start one of those games, maybe against Atletico, and we could see a few surprises. Vagilis says I have Saka already. That's fair enough. Once again, I don't think Gyökeres is a must-sell. I know he's been very poor since Game Week 4 in terms of the goal contributions, but I think the goals will come. He just needs bigger opportunities, and obviously himself, he needs to improve his all-round play, but from an FPL perspective, if you give him big chances, he's going to score. Gyökeres to Mateta, Welbeck. Oh, look, Welbeck scored a brace today. A few weeks ago, he got a brace against Chelsea, but he's very inconsistent. It's Mateta all day long. Now, could Welbeck be the 7th or 8th best forward in FPL? Maybe, but he's not going to be as good as Gyökeres, Mateta, João Pedro, Haaland, Jarrod Bowen, and Voltemada. But yeah, I'd keep Gyökeres, mate. I'd keep him. 89 with Van der Ven and Kudus left on bench boost. Another great score. I think Kudus is the more likely to return, but even if they both blank, you're looking at 93 points or something like that, which is still very decent. Yeah, great goal by Voltemada. I don't think Messi scores goals like that, really, but could he? Yes. He probably has scored it, to be fair, in the past, but yeah, Voltemada is scoring all types of goals, looking very impressive. And yeah, I'm very happy with him as an FPL signing. It's very rare for me to buy someone like him and for him to hit the ground running and never look back, really. Let them keep João Pedro 4 blanks, he stinks so bad. I disagree. I mean, after the Club World Cup, people were raving about him. He had a good start in the Premier League this season. He's got great fixtures coming up. He's on penalties when Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez aren't on the pitch. And even when Enzo's back, which could be in Game Week 9, I think João Pedro could still take the next penalty. Oh God, don't tell me to get James. Yeah, I get that. It's a risky pick either way. But if you want to go for that Chelsea defender and go a bit safer, I think Cucurella's the one. But he's also more expensive. Chalobah's decent. Whenever he's been available, he starts. But I couldn't guarantee you that in the long term. Yeah. I would just take a punt on James if you've got enough squad depth. That's what I would do. Twisted Parky says Salah, Reinders, Van der Ven, or Tosin for Saka, Timber, Chalobah, Munoz, and Dye, or Sarr. Some sort of -4. What do you think? Pedro at some point, but bigger issues. And Thiago not great next week. Right, okay. I do like those transfers. Yeah. I would probably do it. Now, long term, I'd still lean towards Sarr, but in many of my recent wildcard videos, I've had both Sarr and Ndai in that midfield. So, yeah, I'd take the -4 here and go for that. The only concern, of course, is selling Salah, but, you know, you can't always have it perfectly, and downgrading him gives you enough money to make the other moves, so I understand it. Do you think Tosin will start the next few matches? He will definitely start one of them, but Achimpong scored today. If we see Tosin start in the Champions League, yeah, I'd probably favour Achimpong to start the next Premier League match against Sunderland. So that'd be my current prediction. I don't think Tosin starts the next Premier League game, but it's so early to tell. I mean, the game happened, in the early kickoff today? Only 9 hours ago. So things can definitely change, but that's my current feeling with this reaction stream. True, I just want to remove Reinders as my 7th attacker. I'd rather have Enzo, and so would I. I think Enzo's an upgrade, so I'm on board with that. Would you get Mateta in for Gyökeres? No. I mean, they're playing each other this week. I still back Arsenal to win that game and for Gyökeres to be the more likely goal scorer. I think Gyökeres is a hold still. I'm hesitant to pick Arsenal attackers because I feel like they'll share the goals. Yeah, I get that. But Saka got 7 points today. He got a good return against West Ham. He'll take the odd penalty. Assist threat from set pieces, from open play. He created 7 chances today and 1 big opportunity. He can score goals as well. I still think Saka's worth it. João Pedro could have had an assist, but Santos couldn't finish his dinner. Yeah, I just want to see him do more in terms of shooting, because in a lot of these matches he's getting no shots at all. At least with Gyökeres, as bad as he's been, he's getting some shots off and looking lively. But yeah, I think João Pedro will come good in the coming weeks, and a lot of people who sell him might regret it. But I also understand, going away from the template, this could be one such opportunity, which I discussed in recent weeks, to go for Voltemade and Bowen simultaneously alongside Erling Haaland. I think Xhaka is fine. I'm not a massive fan of him, but at 5 million, you can't really complain. I've always been of the opinion he's better than Stack and these Leeds defenders, or midfielders, I should say. But maybe that's a bit, reactionary, could you say? Possibly. But 5 points today, Xhaka just ticks along nicely, right? He gets assists, he gets DEFCON. Yeah. 3 points is the lowest he scored this season. He's usually getting 4 to 5 points, and if you can add a goal contribution on top of it, you could be looking at 7 to 9. So I do like Xhaka. Yeah, I think as your 5th midfielder and 8th attacker, he's very reasonable indeed. RP Invest says, I'm transferring to Voltemade and Timber from Gyökeres and Alderete. Fair enough. Just bear in mind with Timber, Ben White is available. If he stays fit, we could see Timber rested in an upcoming Premier League match. If you can live with that and accept it, I think Timber's a good pick. But Gabriel's my favourite. Voltemade is a great option up front right now, but I still think Gyökeres has something to offer and he will score, but I need him to deliver fast because I've been backing him for quite a while and he has been, not delivering so far. I had Mateta on wildcard and changed for João Pedro last minute, no words. The thing is though, Mateta had the great underlying numbers, but he was being so frustrating, missing multiple chances. Even today, he missed 3 huge opportunities and he could have had a 4th or 5th at the very least, but yeah, who cares, right? For those that have him, it's a hat-trick, you enjoy the points. I don't really blame you for going elsewhere. Mateta was probably 5th or 6th in my sort of power rankings for forwards in Gameweek 8. What about Tottenham and Sunderland defence? I don't mind keeping Pedro Porro or Van de Ven against Everton away, even though I'd back the Toffees to score. And Sunderland, if you've got a 4 million defender like Alderete, who's 4.1, or Mukiele, you just keep, right? You don't need to sell them. But yeah, if you got both, I'd be more tempted to sell the Spurs defender, especially in Game Week 10, I'd say, against Chelsea. Yeah. Something like Borro to Timber is definitely appealing to me to get a double Arsenal defence, and it's something I wouldn't rule out, actually. But my priority is to bolster my 3rd defender, with Lacroix facing Arsenal away, Conser against Man City at home, so I could get one of Dan Burn or Senesi. But yeah, I think Spurs and Sunderland. For Game Week 9, I'd rather start the Tottenham defender, but long term, I'd rather keep the Sunderland player, if that makes sense, because the Spurs options are more expensive. You can then go to Arsenal choices or Reece James, these Chelsea defenders with great fixtures. Is Bruno a sell now, since his price will drop tonight? Not necessarily. If you can buy Saka, I'd do it, but Bruno looks quite decent against Brighton at home. Who would you get in for Foden? Well, ideally Saka, but you would need to make a downgrade elsewhere to make that possible. So if you can't get to Saka, I'd probably say long-term Ismaila Sarr, Ndai. I still like them a lot. I don't think many midfielders stand out this season, but Enzo Fernandez could be another one. I'm going to say Enzo Fernandez if he's fit, and I think he will be. Yeah, so with Mateta, he's a hold, right? Even against Arsenal away. But for those that, oh, he got a hat trick, I'm going to buy him in now. I don't think it's a great time to buy him in at this point. So, as much as I like Voltemada, I'd keep Mateta, and he did score at the Emirates last season as a substitute. Hopefully he doesn't do it this weekend, or next weekend. Will Haaland break his own goal tally? Like I mentioned before, it's possible, but I think he'll get 33 Premier League goals. That's my prediction. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll make a note of it so I can go back to this prediction, because there's something I said earlier, and I can't remember what I said. So I need to double check the deadline stream if possible. Who will get relegated in your opinion? Difficult one this season. It's not as easy as in previous campaigns. I think Wolves are in genuine trouble. I've said that for a while now. But a change of manager and a bounce could obviously help them a lot. But I'm going to say Wolves. I think they're going to go down, unfortunately. But it's obviously very early days. You can't judge too much based on 8 game weeks worth of action. And we still got 3 matches left, of course. So I'm going to say Wolves. I still think one of Burnley or Leeds will go down. Maybe even both. So at the moment, I'm going to say Wolves, Burnley, and Leeds. I think West Ham and Forest will rise up the table with their managerial changes. Would you swap out Borro for Timber and Joao Pedro for Mateta? No. Joao Pedro looks much better in Game Week 9 compared to Mateta. And as much as I like Timber, I don't think that's a massive upgrade on Borro this week. But long-term, it's a great transfer. If I had to pick one, it would be Timber. But you don't need to make that move just yet. Maybe. But then again, it's Norway. What about the groups? You know, who are they going to get? We'll find out, of course. They'll probably be in pot 3 or 4, so they're going to get some big hitters there. 96 goals in 105 games for just 4 seasons for the robot. Yeah, it's an incredible record. You can't really hate on him. That Mateta miss deepened stoppage time in the second half. Yes, he should have scored that, and that would have been the winner. So I'm going to go for a few more questions. My voice is pretty much on its last legs. I've got to record some UCL fantasy videos tomorrow and on a Monday. And of course, there's a very long and hectic deadline stream on Tuesday to look forward to. And then FPL videos throughout the week going into Game Week 9. What are your plans for the upcoming weeks? So I did refer to this briefly. And it'll be delved into my team selection in more detail after the Sunday and Monday matches. And I can also then kind of finalize my transfer plans. But currently, I'm looking at bolstering my defensive line and getting one of Byrne or Senesi as 2 examples to replace Konsa, since I've got 0.7 in the bank. Then I could bench Lacroix against Arsenal away. Reinildo's back from suspension. He'll be third on my bench anyway. I can start Gabriel, Porro, and one of Senesi or Byrne. Then in Game Week 10, I can buy Saka and Sarr for Bruno Fernandes and Gakpo. That's my current plan. It's subject to change though, and I can't really lock it in just yet. I'm 89 all out without using a chip. Yeah, great score. And even if there are some big scores tomorrow and on Monday, that could be enough for a green arrow. I think it will be. So, congratulations. Enjoy the points. I think I missed Kwanzaa. Who would have thought? He was quite highly rated, though, when he first, burst onto the scene. But, yeah, things change very quickly in football. 138 goals in 156 games overall in all competitions for the robot. Yeah, more goals than games played for Norway and the Champions League. In the Champions League, I should say. I've got him in my FPL team, but hopefully not. Ultimately, if a Spurs player had to score or assist, hopefully it's Borro. He's my least hated Spurs player right now just because he's in my FPL team, but that will change, obviously, if I sell him. Twisted Parky says, making 3 transfers for a -4. Who would you sell then? Van der Ven, Salah, Reinders, Tosin, and which 3 would you pick out of Saka, Timber, Chalobah, Munoz, and Diosar? Okay, ideally, I'd keep Salah against Brentford away. I would rank him higher than Saka in Game Week 9. I think Reinders to Ndai is a transfer I'd recommend. Van der Ven to be honest, I'd keep Van der Ven for 1 more week, then sell to Timber by Game Week 10 or a different Arsenal defender. And I actually don't mind Munoz as well, but yeah, I think that's the transfer I'd recommend. Reinders to Ndai if you can. And Sarr is absolutely fine as well. Tosin to... what's your money in the bank? If you got enough, then yeah, do Tosin to Timber. Looks amazing, but I'm guessing you don't have enough money for that. The FPL Lima says, I felt very unlucky in the first few weeks before Game Week 6, so to get a Mukiele 17-pointer this week, I play him, was quite lucky and balanced things out for me. Well, I'm glad you feel that way, because not everyone has that same opinion, but I was also quite happy with my 50-50 calls this week, starting Dubravka and Ndai over Sanchez and Reinders. Not massive gains, but I'll take them when they come about. Yes, I do have a Fantasy Football Hub account. I've had it for a few years now, and yeah. I mean, there are some tools that I do use, of course, for my videos, and yeah, I mean, there's some things I like, maybe some other things that I don't so much, but there you go. Ignoring Arsenal, what is your favourite defender for the next 4 or 5 game weeks? Yeah, good question. This is a bit more difficult to answer, but probably a Newcastle one like Burn still, despite the 2 goals conceded today. Anyone fancy Casemiro on a free next summer? Not me. Sold Elliot Anderson and Bruno to get Enzo and Sarr. Yeah, long-term good moves. I do like that. Sarr against Arsenal away isn't great, on paper anyway, but he could score. And Enzo should be available soon. So yeah, long-term looks very promising. Yeah, that was a massive miss. This is why you don't bet, people, if that is betting. I think that is based on the comment. Brentford could be relegated, yeah. Even West Ham and Forest aren't safe. They're definitely down there, but I'm going to say one of Burnley or Leeds, possibly both, and I'm quite convinced at the moment that Wolves will go down. Not so sure, Mark. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, my current plan is to bolster my defence first, and in Game Week 10, sell Gakpo and Bruno to Saka and Sarr. Chalobah, Burn, or Richards for Gvardiol? Burn. I do like Burn. Janot being a free agent in the summer would be mad. I think Reinders is a sell, which I talked about in my Game Week 8 transfer tips only a few days ago. I hate all Everton players equally except Tarkowski. Oh, that's a strange one. I wonder why I like him. Maybe because of FPL. Salah to Saka frees up a lot of money. I have 4 free transfers, so which striker would you go for? Well, based on recent form, it's probably Voltemada, right? But Bowen and Joao Pedro have the best fixtures. So that's a difficult one to answer, but yeah, I wouldn't buy Mateta against Arsenal away personally, even though he can score against them. I believe he did in both matches last season, or he did in the Carabao Cup at the Emirates, capitalising on a Kivior error, and he also did, yeah, a few months later. I'm going to say Voltemada. Why not? I'm going to back him a little bit. And it does change on a weekly basis, because going into Game Week 8, if I had to pick a forward, it would be Bowen, right? Because of the Brentford fixture as well. Yeah, I think Voltemada will be the preference, just about. And in the midfield, yeah, it would be one of Enzo or Sarr for me to replace Reinders. If you're buying one in Game Week 9, assuming Enzo's fit, it would be him. Is it me or the midfield options aren't great this season? I agree. I mean, you've got decent options. I think Semenyo's been the standout by far, but Salah's underperformed. Saka's been decent in the last 2 game weeks, but before that, he was underwhelming. A lot of injury problems. Cole Palmer, obviously, a very stop-and-start season because of injuries as well. So yeah, it's been very, very frustrating. Ignore Haaland, you have Pedro, Voltemada, Bowen, Mateta. Yeah, a few weeks ago, even up until Game Week 8, people were saying, we only need one forward in Haaland. Just invest in a 5-4-1 formation, basically, and I disagree. If anything, I'd consider going for fewer midfielders and more forwards right now, if possible. Dylan, what are your thoughts on free hit for Game Week 9? I've got Raya, Gabriel, Gvardiol, Munoz, and Mateta facing each other. Thanks for the live, by the way. I appreciate it. That's actually a great point, and something I might consider in a couple of days' time. But yeah, for those with a lot of Arsenal and Palace players, it could be a nice time to free hit. That's actually a really good point. My situation's a bit different. I've only got Gabriel at the moment, and I'll probably avoid Saka and Sarr for now, and I'll probably buy them by Game Week 10. But yeah, I think that is a decent shout. Yeah, I think that looks pretty reasonable. Game Week 11 is what I'm looking at for the free hit at the moment for my situation, but that could also change. I think for you, I don't know about the rest of your squad, but a free hit in Game Week 9 looks promising. Only have enough for those if selling Salah 0.9 in the bank at the moment. Yeah. That's the problem, right? In that situation, then, I'd probably sell Salah to Saka then. And that would be for a -4, right? With the other 2 defenders I recommended. When should someone triple captain next? Probably Gameweek 13 or 15 on Haaland with those plum home fixtures against newly promoted clubs. Is it time to sell Reinders? I think so. But I did mention this before. It would not surprise me whatsoever to see him start returning in the more difficult games. And he's a quality player. He's going to get some big returns from time to time. Obviously, a lot of people like myself benched him against Arsenal away. He got the assist, DEFCON, and 9 points, I think it was. But I talked about this in Gameweek 8 in the transfer tips on Monday. For me, he's a sell. I just don't think he's consistent enough as an FPL asset, even at that price point. I like all of those midfielders, so it's very tough for me to answer. But if you were to buy one in Gameweek 9, it's probably Enzo. Best time to bench boost if I have Burnley and Sunderland players. Maybe Gameweek 10 would be decent. Really good Gameweek ranked 11, 214,000. Krupa Jr. is an option. Possibly, but I think that's very knee-jerky because he scored a brace today. With Bournemouth, I still think the standouts are Semenyo and Senesi. And amongst forwards, I mentioned 6 forwards, all stream basically, that I'd rather have both in terms of consistency, but also from a structural perspective because you can switch between them in the future. I bought Reinders, sold for Paqueta, then sold for Reinders now, selling again. Not the best decision-making this season. Why did I get Wirtz? Not normally swayed by hype, and Watkins normally I don't. Well, I was actually quite bullish on Wirtz. I thought he was underpriced at 8.5 million, and maybe a lot of it was based on my perception of him as a player and what he did for Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League and Bundesliga. I owned him in UCL Fantasy multiple times last season, but yeah, he's been an absolute disaster so far, but he'll probably score against Man United tomorrow. Gameweek 9 AI suggestion team. Maybe I'll go through that in like a future video or something. I'll leave that for another day, but I appreciate the suggestion. What do you think about Bruno next week against Brighton? I don't think he's a must-sell. Like, if I'm comparing Bruno and Saka, I think it's quite similar in Gameweek 9, so I'd be quite happy to keep Bruno for one more week. Would you do Pedro to Voltemada? No. I like Voltemada, but I keep João Pedro for at least one more week, then reassess. Green Arrow with 58, 4 free transfers next week. Yeah, decent score. 4 free transfers is very, very promising. Unc Welbeck brace at Old Trafford. Well, he scored there before, for Arsenal, but yeah, I don't think so. But Brighton have a good record at Old Trafford, that's true. I don't think Welbeck will score another brace, though. We'll see. Thoughts on bench boost Gameweek 9? It's team dependent. I'm not sure who you've got, but yeah, for those with a lot of Sunderland players, it doesn't look great against Chelsea away. I think Gameweek 10 could be quite decent for others as well. Best time to bench boost if I have Burnley covered. Hi Dylan, 60 points without Arsenal coverage. Yeah, pretty good. And Salah, Haaland squad. Yeah, I think Salah will do the business tomorrow, so that looks very encouraging. So 70 plus points is definitely on the horizon. Need help if I should wildcard this game week. Wait, Haaland, João Pedro, and then CL Clown. Wait, who's that? Oh, Calvert-Lewin, not Clown. What am I doing? Yeah, I've had a few stinkers in the stream, like James. What? Who's that? James Tarkovsky? James? Yeah, Clown. Jesus, that's a bit harsh. Yeah, good squad. But in terms of the players I wouldn't really like long-term, well, Joachim Andersen's injured. And I don't like him too much anyway. Good for DEFCON, but not many clean sheets. My stream just, or my chat just bugged out. So let me get the message up again. Borro is decent for Everton away, but he's a sell afterwards. Senesi, still a hold long term. Yeah, Dubravka and Pope is a really good goalkeeper combination. No need to change that. Diouf is okay. I think Salah for the next 3 is fine. Semenyo long-term hold for now. Ndai as well. Caicedo's pretty good. I think Reinders and Calvert-Lewin are sellable. The rest are obviously very strong in Haaland and João Pedro. So quite difficult to say, actually, because there's a fine line between if you should wildcard or not. But I'd probably say wildcard in 13, actually. Yeah. And it also depends on how much money you've got in the bank. Can you go to Saka by Gameweek 10 or 11, stuff like that? But you don't need to wildcard, in my opinion. And the players to sell would be Reinders, Calvert-Lewin, Joachim Andersen, and then probably Borro, especially to get Arsenal defensive coverage. That's your biggest weakness, not having that Arsenal defence covered. Thanks, fella. Yeah, might go Salah and 2 defence, or 1 and sell Reinders first. Yeah, which isn't ideal because Salah looks really impressive against against Brentford away and Aston Villa at home, but things change very quickly, right? And if Salah hauls tomorrow, you might feel differently. Thanks, and I'm new to the game. When I use my free hit, does it save me a free transfer or do I not get one at all? You keep what you had beforehand. So if you had 2 free transfers and then you free hit, you still have 2 free transfers in the week after you play that chip and your team reverts back to how it was before you activated the free hit. But I appreciate your kind words. Thoughts on Triple Palace? Not in Game Week 9 against Arsenal, but long term, they have a nice fixture swing from Game Week 10 onwards. I think 2's the sweet spot, but I don't mind 3. I personally go for Munoz or any Palace defender, except Mitchell, who's probably my least favourite. Still decent, but yeah. One of Munoz, Lacroix, Richards, or Gay, and Sarr. I still prefer Voltemada, Bowen, and Haaland over Mateta, but surely, based on the hat-trick today, he has leapfrogged Gyökeres and Joao Pedro in the power rankings, so I understand why you want to go for him, but not against Arsenal away. I don't think tripling up on Palace is looking great on paper there. Semenyo captain against Forest, I would have been on board with that if Ange Postecoglou was still there. Maybe Welbeck on Michu Wood time. Yeah, but Welbeck I don't think ever has that sort of 20-goal a season in him. But he has been like a reliable player over the years for Brighton, United and Arsenal. Ultimately, he can be an erratic finisher and quite injury-prone, but when he is there, he can do a job for the team. But yeah, not for me. Last season, we bring Forest players in the middle of the season due to their form. This season, what club that is not expected to perform very good we buy in the player middle of the season? Well, so far it's Sunderland. We're also looking at, I think Bournemouth and Palace, we kind of expect them to do well. Maybe not to this level. They're looking very impressive. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Good question. Yeah, that's a difficult one to say. So just a heads up, by the way, I'm only going to answer a few more questions, then I'm going to wrap up just to give my voice a little rest and go again with the UCL fantasy coverage. Hopefully you understand. But yeah, it's probably Sunderland for me, who are 7th in the Premier League table, which is incredible, actually. Yeah, it's probably going to be Sunderland. Boring answer, but no one else springs to mind that kind of suits that sort of criteria. Yeah, Clown Lewin. Yeah, maybe you subconsciously thought that. Would you do Kudus to Ndai? I think so. More likely to get DEFCON, on penalties, nailed on in that Everton team, can play on the left and right. He did play on the right today, I believe. Yeah, he did, and he caused some problems. The only concern I've got with Ndai, and where Kudus is comfortably the better pick, is with assists and creativity. Ndai doesn't really create enough, but in terms of goal scoring, there's levels to it. Ndai's going to score a lot more goals than Kudus, and he's on penalties, so I'd probably do it, yeah. What about wildcard? I don't feel the need to do it just yet. Otherwise, I would have pulled the trigger in Game Week 8. Maybe I would have gained some points, but I need to double check that. But yeah, I think Game Week 13 is the most likely for me. When do you think it's best to go from Haaland to Salah? Well, you have some tough fixtures coming up, but the way that's Haaland's playing anyway, his goal-scoring form, difficult for me to say otherwise. Now, if Salah gets a big return tomorrow, there's going to be a big push towards him. We know how things work, but I think unless Haaland gets injured or something happens, I think Haaland stays in the team for now. If we see a massive form dip by Game Week 10 or 11, we could maybe push towards Salah between Game Weeks 12 and 16 when he then goes off to AFCON. But yeah, to be honest with you, I think keep Haaland. That's the play right now. Yeah, AFCON transfers are 5. So everyone in Game Week 16 will get 5 free transfers as covered throughout the season. That includes my key changes to FPL video. No money in the bank. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Pratik, we'll talk more about this, of course, in the deadline stream and across my videos in the comments section. There's also my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, if you want to reach out to me on those platforms. I was going to say the same. If Salah haws, I have a headache, but he needs to score points every week for the price. That's exactly the problem. But in terms of the captaincy, he could rival Salah or better him over the next 3. Ibrahim says, I have Anderson and Reinders I need to replace, but I have no money. Is that Ellie Anderson or Joachim Anderson? But yeah, ideally it'd be Reinders to one of Ndai or Sa. And then if it's Elliot Anderson, maybe go to Xhaka, or probably need to go a bit cheaper actually to make the other move. Maybe Reinders to Minter then. If it's Joachim Anderson, then you could go down to a 4 million defender like Rodon, Goodmanson, or Mukiele, who I talked about in my wildcard video. Almada scores against Osasuna. What a player. Yeah, I do like Thiago Almada. He's been quite impressive for Argentina recently. Thank you, Secondaire. I appreciate that. Who would you want to face Salah on the wings, Dalot or Dorgu, to make sure he blanks? Well, I think probably Dorgu. I expect both of them to start, actually. But a lot of United fans want to see Amad Diallo get the nod. And if that's the case, then of course one of Dalot or Dorgu will miss out. But yeah, I think probably Dorgu. I think with any massively expensive assets, if you start to feel you can't captain them, what's the point? I completely agree. People have that sort of feeling with Gyökeres right now. They would have had it with Parma for most of 2025. And of course now with Salah since February or March. So yeah, once it gets to that stage, it gets a bit easy to sell. Welcome to Sasa. Mario says, I want to sell Foden and Reinders so bad, but for who? Already having Dai, Semenyo and Enzo. Sarr I want, but playing Arsenal, so not ideal. Yeah, I think with Sarr, don't buy him in just yet. I get what you're saying. You've got 3 good midfielders, and one of Foden or Reinders could haul against Villa, but they are still sells in the long term. Minter would cross my mind. I think he's decent. I would probably say Enzo Fernandez. Oh, sorry, you've already got him. Oh, what am I saying? This might seem very left field, but probably one of Xhaka or Florentino Luis as a kind of 8th attacker and 5th midfielder. Just for the defcons and getting you 4 or 5 points consistently. Just an idea. Because otherwise, not many stand out, except Ismail Assar, who had one again in Game Week 10 instead of 9. But yeah. And Saka's obviously the one I'd recommend to you, but can you even get to him? Probably not. Foden to Saka and Reinders to Xhaka would be amazing, but do you have enough money for that, Mario? Let me know, and we can talk about that. Gyökeres to Voltemada and Romero to Gabriel, -4 hit. Not for me. I like Gabriel a lot, and Voltemada's been brilliant for me, but I would keep at least one of Gyökeres or Romero and avoid the hit. You could make one transfer and do it one at a time, but my recommendation is to maybe do both in Game Week 10 for free, not in Game Week 9 for a hit. Yes, Sven, I've done UCL Fantasy Deadline streams for the past 5 years. I think I was the first person to do deadline streams for that fantasy format. So despite being ill, the plan is to go live on Tuesday. The bigger concern for me is recording the free videos that I usually do, the Limitless and Wildcard squads, team selections, but the plan is to do that tomorrow and on Monday. I killed this weekend. Yeah, congratulations, enjoy the points. UCL Fantasy in 2 days. Well, technically free, but yeah, just over 2. What's the top easiest game for big teams in UCL? Well, we'll talk about that very soon, but Barca against Olympiacos stands out immediately, that's for sure. Gyökeres is Arsenal's Lewin? Nah. Let's not disrespect Gyökeres, mate. 97 goals in 102 games for Sporting, and he's got a good record for every single club he's been at, so yeah, except Brian, I think, but yeah, let's not talk about that with Tustapaki. Ayub says bench boost in Game Week 9, Dubravka, Potter, Estev, Munoz, Dorgu, James, Saka, Reinders, Mbumo, Semenyo, Dewsbury-Hall, Mateta, Haaland, Joao Pedro. Any advice on who to get in apart from Arsenal defence? Thank you. Yeah, that is definitely the standout, getting Arsenal defenders, but you don't need to do it in Game Week 9 against Palace. I think Reinders out would probably be a suggestion of mine, and also Mbumo. So tough for me to say without knowing the context of your team in terms of the funds, but I think Mbumo to Saka. Actually, you got Saka, sorry. Mbumo to... yeah, Mbumo to Ndai looks promising. Then you could do Reinders to Sarr in the coming weeks. And Dewsbury-Hall could be upgraded as well. To Enzo Fernandez. I would try to bring in those 3 midfielders. That's the weakest part of the team in my opinion. And even a -4 hit could be taken over the coming weeks to bring in an Arsenal defender or 2. Best Reinders replacement, if you have enough money, I'd highly recommend one of Ndai, Sarr, or Enzo Fernandez. Otherwise, you're probably looking at one of Caicedo or Xhaka / Florentino Luis. It basically depends on your budget and if you're happy to get an 8th attacker or 5th midfielder who is basically there for DEFCON. 109 points. I'm guessing that's with Bedroporo yet to play. Yeah, great score. You're going to get 110 plus, so enjoy it. 55 points, 4 to play. Yeah, decent, and if you got Salah, I'd be very confident. Haaland captain for the entire remaining games. Well, there will be a time, like Pep Guardiola said recently, where Haaland's form will drop. They've got poor fixtures coming up, so there will be opportunities to go against him for the captaincy, but if he continues this form, then yeah, I mean, it's easy captain all season, but it's quite boring. Thank you, Michael Bayer. I appreciate the kind words, and good luck for Game Week 8 and 9. Hopefully you don't have to have Haaland every week, bar say 2 as captain. It becomes very boring, I agree. If DEFCON doesn't exist this season, could this strategy different of picking players for FPL managers, especially you? Well, it would be slightly different. I mean, for example, I'd be less keen on Ndai than I am now, but because against Liverpool he got DEFCON, he also got it in another match recently on top of Man City as well. You know, I think it does change my perception a little bit. I also think it makes fullbacks less appealing and centre-backs and holding mids much more enticing, like Caicedo, Florentino Luis, Gabriel. I mean, he was always going to be my favourite defender this season anyway, I think. But yeah, I think it has changed things a little bit. I've been asked about Gordon a lot of times today, and I'm just not a massive fan. I think he's okay, decent pick, but many people were swayed by the 2 penalties he scored in the Champions League. I've played for 10 years in this game, and this weekend is the best ever. I'm glad to hear it. Keep on going, and hopefully you can, build upon that momentum and get more green arrows. Addison out with hamstring injury. I already have 3 Arsenal. Which Chelsea defender would you go for? I take a punt on James, which I rarely say, but I'm quite keen on him. I think you're right to highlight those 3. I wouldn't go for Tosin Adarabioyo or Achimpong. If you go for a Chelsea defender, it's going to be one of James, Chalobah or Cucurella. The safest is probably Cucurella. I would take a punt on James. Would you take a hit to go Gyökeres to Voltemada and Romero to Gabriel? As I said before, no. Do you think it's actually worth going with more than 3 midfielders in your team this season? Yeah, I agree. There is a case and debate to just go for 3 or 4 midfielders, and even the 5th one could be cheaped out. So that's definitely a good point, and it'll be talked about more in my wildcard video in a few days. 3-4-3, got Sarr, Enzo, Semenyo, and Ndai, Reinders. Who do I swap Reinders with for number 1 sub and maybe make money? Well, if you want to go cheaper, I would say one of Caicedo, Xhaka, or Florentino Luis. My preference is probably Xhaka in terms of the money. Well, I'm not sure, Easy. I'm not going to go back and calculate it now, to be honest with you, but it would be less. Not much less. I haven't gotten that many DEFCON points. I think Ndai's gotten the bulk of them, but it has made a difference, yeah. But then again, others would have had more DEFCON points scored, so maybe my rank will be higher. Who knows? The Sasa says Sanchez, Gabriel, Borro, Munoz, Gay, Saka, Minter, Gakpo, Welbeck, Mateta, Haaland. Okay, so Mateta's in that team. That explains a lot. Bench, Dubravka, Senesi, Semenyo, Reinders. That's a very good squad overall. Did you bench boost? Yeah, I think you did. Otherwise, I just don't really see why you would have benched Semenyo. I bought Haaland at 14.5 and he's still 14.5 now. Yeah, so you need him to go up in price by 0.2 million in order to gain 0.1 million in selling price. Yeah, I'm not sure why you'd be getting... Yeah, you didn't buy him at 14.5 then. That wouldn't make sense. If you bought him at 14 million, that would explain why he's only 14.2 in selling price. I think that's the way things have gone. Thank you, Robert. And also to Ayub. Badass this evening, Dylan. I am wrapping up, though. I'm going to have dinner and rest a little bit, but another disappointing read from Gyökeres and João Pedro. I guess triple Arsenal defense is the way to go. I disagree. I still think Saka, who got 7 points today, is worth including in that midfield. We aren't getting many consistent midfielders, and Saka is one of them. He's starting to build some momentum, which is great to see. I think Raya, Gabriel, and Saka is the best Arsenal triple-up, whilst I like Calafiori, Timber, Saliba, and Gyökeres. Those are the 3 I'd go for. I have 2 free transfers. Should I swap Bruno and Livramento for Saka and Chalobah Burn? I like Bruno this week, to be honest. So I'd keep Bruno for 1 more, then swap to Saka in Game Week 10. That's my current plan. Livramento to one of Burn or Chalobah looks good, and I'd recommend Burn right now. The G-Man, 1 goal in 8 games for Albion, but never got a chance. 5 sub-appearances in the Prem, 3 League Cup starts with that goal, or 4 and 1 in FA Cup. Yeah, He didn't really get a chance there, but he went to another level at Coventry and then took it to even bigger levels at Sporting. His technical ability is quite poor, but as a goal scorer, I don't doubt his finishing. He's going to come. So if he gets big chances, he'll score. I'm kind of blaming Arsenal more on Arteta in terms of not creating enough from open play for Victor Gyökeres, who is kind of being doubled up on a lot. I have 75 Akudas to play, but I bench Achimpong. Yeah, but for him to score his first Premier League goal, Forest should have scored. I mean, that's a massive swing. A bit unfortunate there. Yeah, I saw that. I mentioned it early in the deadline stream. Yeah, Argentina-Morocco should be a good under-20 World Cup final. Do I buy Saka now? If he rises, then I can't buy him and I'm cooked. Who would you sell for him? I don't like early transfers, but I'd probably do it because I rate Saka that much. 79.6% tonight and 86.77% predicted tomorrow. Well, I checked the price predictions earlier. I'm guessing you're using the same one, livefpl.net. I mean, look, it's a risk because there's still a chance Saka goes up in price, right? But it's unlikely. I would risk it and not make the transfer yet. Wait for the Sunday games to finish and then make the transfer at least, because something else might pop up for you. Have your thoughts on Munoz changed after his last 2 games? He's so attacking on DEFCONs and clean sheets, he could have had some massive hauls. I've still liked Munoz, by the way. I've just recommended Gay, Lacroix and Richards more so in my wildcard videos because they're cheaper and they've been better in terms of FPL points. But if you've got enough money, like Borro to Munoz looks really promising after Arsenal away in Gameweek 9. But yeah, I always felt that Munoz had the highest ceiling of any Palace defender. So that's not really changed after today. But yeah, people will now be more keen on buying the Colombian. And he's the most exciting pick in that Palace defence, that's for sure. But Mark Gay still got a goal contribution with the penalty earned. Triple captain Haaland. Okay, not too shabby. Apparently Arsenal wanted to beef him up a bit. Maybe that's had a negative effect. I didn't see that actually, but he's been very physical. He's relentless in terms of his pressing and always engaging in physical battles. But I want to see him just get into the channels more. And sometimes he's making great runs and he's not found. But yeah, there have been a few occasions like today where he did quite well to get into a good position and then he scuffed the finishing. So I think the goals will come, but it's very frustrating. If I had him in FPL, I'd probably be even more angry at him, I guess. But I'm still confident the goals will come and he's got good fixtures to make that happen. Yeah, I agree. I'd sell Foden as well. But yeah, you're explaining who you're going to sell to get Saka. I'd wait until tomorrow just in case, but yeah, I'd pull the trigger early because Saka will go up in price very soon. 10 million. It depends, right? Because if you're doing Gyökeres to one of Voltemada, Bowen, you know, all these kind of forwards I've mentioned earlier, and then you're going from like Reinders to Saka, which is unlikely, but if you're doing something like that, then I wouldn't call it sideways. I still like Gyökeres, but I prefer Saka. That goes without saying. I would keep Gyökeres, Robert. I like Voltemada, but Gyökeres is still a hold. Green cards being introduced in semi-finals of the World Cup under 20. Yeah, also a system, or maybe that's the system you're talking about, where the managers can kind of like have an appeal, a bit like tennis. Something new and interesting. My bet on starting Dubravka and Steph paid off. Gordon disappoints again. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why Steph didn't get bonus points, but I'm happy Dubravka got 2. And yeah, fair play on starting both of them. Gordon has been quite underwhelming in FPL this season. He scored 2 penalties in the Premier League, and that's basically it. Sorry, in the Premier League, in the Champions League, and people started rushing towards him. 4 million in the bank. How to improve money efficiency or strengthen the team? Well, you've got a good squad, but I think Reinders is the kind of weak link. He's not like a must sell, like you have to get rid of him now because you could just bench him, but yeah, I've said this before, he could return in the next couple of matches, but I still think he's not as good as other midfielders in the game. Yeah, I think he is the priority sell. The others look absolutely fine, but you do have a lot of Arsenal and Palace players playing against each other, so even a free hit could be considered, which was pointed out by a viewer earlier. Yeah, I think so, Denegator Games. I don't think he'll rise tonight. He has to go above 100% in the projections. And if he does go up, I think FPL have manipulated something there. Should the green cards be introduced in senior level games? I'd want to see it tested more, and then we can see how the results are. So right now I'd say no, but I'd be open to it in the future. Thoughts on Palace and Bournemouth this season? Well, I think both of them will finish top half and they can challenge for the European spots. They have a great chance of doing so, but in terms of Champions League, I still think Chelsea are more likely to finish fourth. And I think the top three is quite clear in Arsenal, Liverpool, and City. But yeah, if I had to pick one from the two, I mean, Palace recently went on a 19-game unbeaten run, and they had so many big chances today in the second half. They should have won, but yeah, it's probably Palace that are a bit more likely. I think they've also got, maybe not more squad depth, but they've got a few more options on the bench. But yeah, they both are looking really solid. They've got top managers. I think they'll both finish in the top 8 at the moment. I bought Haaland in Gameweek 1 at 14.2 and he's 14.5 now. Yeah, he should have gone up in selling price then. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Yeah, he should be 14.3, I believe, so I'm not sure why that's the case. For every 0.2 million a player goes up in price, you gain 0.1 million, so he should be 14.3. Thoughts on Arsenal Atletico game? I was asked about this before. In recent years, Atletico have been more offensive. So we all have this perception of Simeone and Atletico of 10 years ago when they parked the bus and reached Champions League finals and stuff. They are more offensive nowadays and they concede a lot more chances. But yeah, and also with Arsenal, their main strength is in their defence, but they also create chances and they outplay most teams. If you look at the stats, the XG, if you want, shots, chances created, etc. But yeah, it'll probably be a cagey game, I think, despite all of what I said. Like 1-0, 2-1, and I think Arsenal have the advantage at home, but it won't be easy. They really struggle against low to mid blocks, but this season, of course, with their signings, they are in a better position now. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. Brighton never change. Great results versus tough teams and struggle against the others. I agree. I said that earlier, and it's nothing new with Brighton. Should I trade out Ekitike for Sesko? I'd sell him for one of Voltemada, Bowen, Joao Pedro, Gyökeres, Mateta, Haaland, but not Sesko. Not for me. Is there a standout mid if I do Salah to Saka and Reynolds to who? Yeah, I think Enzo Fernandez in Gameweek 9, but I also like Sarr and Ndai long term, not necessarily for Gameweek 9 in the case of Sarr. Gyökeres, Bruno and Reynolds to Voltemada, Saka and Enzo, free transfers. I do like Gyökeres and Bruno this week, but as a trio, yeah, that's an upgrade. So I'll probably do it. But like I just said, I do like Bruno and Gyökeres in Gameweek 9. Made early transfers, Bruno and Gyökeres out for Saka and Voltemada. Long term, I do prefer the duo you're bringing in, but yeah, you know my feelings on Bruno and Gyökeres for Gameweek 9. Bada says make changes or time to wildcard in your opinion. 2 free transfers. It's not like a must wildcard, but I probably would. Because you'd sort out a lot of long-term issues like double Spurs defence. You've got Sells who's been stinking out the gaff. You can also bring in a second or third Arsenal player. I mean, you've already got 2, but you can bring in a third like Saka. Maybe double up on the Arsenal defence. Sell Reinders, who in my opinion is a sell in Boomer as well. So I'd probably wildcard. We've probably been like that since 1980. Still, we've come a long way. Yeah, fat boy slim. I didn't say the word baby, but there you go. Ahmed says 121k, 100, bench boost 30, Salah Kudus remains. Wow. 30 points on the bench boost is incredible. I would take that all day long on my bench boost. Eric Ten Hag to Forest, surely not. Delink to Sean Dyche and Roberto Mancini. I have Haaland, Pedro and Ekitike. Yeah, if you were to sell Ekitike, it's going to be one of Voltemada, Bowen, or Mateta. And I still like Gyökeres, by the way. Would I buy him? Maybe not, but for those that have, he's still a hold, more so than a sell. I would not go from Ekitike to Sesko. Who would you pick to replace Joao Pedro in Gameweek 10? In Gameweek 10, it's probably Mateta. But if it's now, I prefer Voltemada against Fulham at home. I think timing is very important, and it does change. So, for example, in Gameweek 8, I would have said Bowen. I'd rate his chances on Monday against Brentford. But yeah, don't put any more questions and comments, please, because I am going to wrap up. I have been going live for the past 2 hours, and I think it's time to get some rest. If you haven't already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell, because there's plenty of content to look forward to. And by the way, that's Banjo Tooie sounds. What am I doing? I don't know. But yeah, for UCL Fantasy and FPL, there's going to be a lot of videos like the best wildcard and limitless squads. Also, my team selection on Monday and a deadline stream on Tuesday. And for FPL, there'll be a transfer tips, best wildcard squad, team selection, and there could be an extra video before the deadline stream coming up next weekend. There's also my Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. You can also find me by typing FPL Dylan for the latest FPL and UCL fantasy updates. The same goes for my content as well. Join my Discord server to be notified of all my uploads and also get all the updates on price changes, lineups, bonus points. You get everything in that Discord server for FPL and a lot of great discussions for UCL fantasy and FPL 2. Was planning on selling Van der Ven for Timber, but Anderson got injured. Well, apparently it's a hamstring injury. He'll probably be out for a couple of weeks, so I would prioritize selling Anderson first. I don't normally waste a transfer, but I'm done with sales. I'm guessing you mean you don't waste a transfer on goalkeepers, but yeah, I think he is a sell, despite a potential managerial bounce. If Liverpool change the style and do well tomorrow, I guess they'll be trendy again. Yeah, exactly that, and I think Liverpool will win the next 3 games, for what it's worth. It might not be convincing, there could be some late winners again and stuff like that, but I think Liverpool win the next 3 matches and Arsenal need to match that and also go on a big run to build a gap. Dylan, Reinders and Joao Pedro out, Paqueta, Mateta in. No, I don't like that. I mean, Paqueta's not shabby and I like Mateta overall, but he's facing Arsenal away, so I do rank Joao Pedro higher in Gameweek 9. Got rid of Mateta for Haaland this week, should have waited. Yeah, but Haaland's still got a brace. Long term, he's the better option. It's not a bad decision, just a bit of a bad outcome for you this week and a bit unlucky with the timing. Cheers, Arthur, Ahmed, and also Tabata. Have a good one as well. I am versing my manager and he's 2 points ahead of me. He's using the wild card and I'm bench boosting. I need to beat him. Well, there are the Sunday and Monday matches to look forward to, and if you got Salah, I would be very confident in your situation. I'm backing him to do well tomorrow, and we'll see how the things go and how those matches transpire. That'll be reflected in my upcoming FPL videos and the coverage, so things will change a little bit. This is a reaction stream with my initial kind of feedback and thoughts and ideas going into Gameweek 9. All the best of luck for the rest of Gameweek 8 though, and I'll see you very soon for Gameweek 9 content in FPL and Matchday free videos and live streams for UCL Fantasy over the weekend. Take care, enjoy the football, and I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the season.